Say hi, Daddy. Say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
This is your baby, okay? He's just light-skinned.
That one might be mine. That one right there. I'm not totally sure. Just because you name him Darren don't mean he belonged to Darren. But I don't care what this baby's name is. This baby is rice-skinned, but not light-skinned. That is a white child. That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus. That is a Slavic baby, a Viking from Iceland. That baby got 730 as a credit rating right now as an infant.
You the only one I've been with, Darren.
Bitch, let me explain to you the math. I've been in here 16 consecutive years. You know how long consecutive is, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it means one right after the motherfucking other. Because I ain't never missed a day. So clearly you've been having some conjugal visits with some other motherfuckers other than me. That's not my baby. That's almost a grown white man you brought in here. His glasses are certainly grown. I've never seen a baby with that type of prescription. And why does that baby look like Officer Joshua? Bitch, you been fucking the car?
Nuh-uh.
Hey, Darren, stop talking to my mom like that, man. Be respectful.
You're absolutely right. I apologize for that. It's just this bitch.
Hey, there you go again.
Your mother was misbehaving. I'm sorry, I should have set a better example in front of the nice white gentleman and your mother. All right, so could I please speak to my black son privately, please, if that be okay with you, Trisha? I mean, no disrespect, sir. Hope to work for you one day when I get out.
Come on, babe. Raggedy heads.
Just killed me. That just killed me. I know it's not political. I just thought that was really funny. I just thought it was really. I thought it was really funny. I was like crying from laughter. Like literally crying. I thought it was funny. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Nierman, aka Good Logic. I hope you all have a phenomenal weekend. I know I was here Saturday night, but like it's weekend's over now, so I can like actually officially wish you a belated happy week. I don't know what that means. That doesn't even mean anything tonight. I got a banger of a show tonight. Did I forget to put a goal? I did forget to put a goal. Oh my gosh. We need to remedy that post haste. Like immediately. How do I not have a goal? What the hell? Why am I even here? If we don't have a goal, like you don't feel anything. You're all confused. You're like, wait, where's the goal? Should we manifesto it tonight? What do you guys think? Manifesto? Manifesto goal? What do you think? Manifesto goal? I'm looking to you. Something? Yeah, okay. Fine, I'll just manifesto. I feel like I'm starting to like hang on it a lot. I don't know. I'm like not crazy. Man, come on, Joe, come on. Okay, 10. I always have this as 10. That would be terrible. That would be a disaster. All right, well, we'll do colon/manifesto. We'll do colon and manifesto. We'll see what happens. All right. It's now officially up. Let's start that all over again. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we got a banger of a show for you. First and foremost, you probably may have, I'm not sure, it only came out the last couple of hours, may have heard the news about Alabama getting a big win out of SCOTUS, and they did. It was a very, very big win. But one of the things that I haven't seen anyone else talking about, I am the only person talking about this. One of the things I haven't seen anyone talking about is the fact that it may not be over before the courts. It may not be over. This could still get sidelined. This could get kiboshed. So I want to alert you to that. I want to walk you through exactly what the scenario is with Alabama, the win that they got, how it's current status is and caution you to be alert for the future. So you don't start counting our chickens before our eggs have hatched. I mean, you can't even count it ever because realistically, even if you gerrymander, you don't know you're getting these districts, right? You never know what's going to end up coming out in an actual election. But my point being that we don't even know if we're going to get the maps that SCOTUS seems to be giving us. That's the point I'm getting at. I'm going to walk you through why. I'm going to walk you through where we might have potential obstacles. I know that's not the news. A lot of people who are in my position, I noticed that you can make really great clickbait by basically saying, this is it, the win is here, oh my gosh, and I can do that. And I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer. I'm not a Debbie Downer. This was a great win, phenomenal win. Chef's kiss. SCOTUS did everything we could have possibly hoped for from them. Really, really, and just the timing, just really zip, 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 zip. Everything about what SCOTUS did here was phenomenal. I'm simply saying I need to just sort of caution you. We might not end up with these maps being the maps that dictate Alabama. Just saying. Other thing is Virginians are going nuts. The Virginian Democrats have been going insane with different suggestions as to what to do. What should we do about that Supreme Court of Virginia decision that just completely overhauled, destroyed, dismantled our 10-to-1 Democrat map? What should we do? What should we do? And coming up with some of the most insane plans imaginable. Just mind-blowing. Like literally, like, wow. You have just lost you've lost your minds. You've literally lost your minds. And finally, we're seeing the development of something that I've been calling for a long time, which is Israel. Bibi Netanyahu announcing that Israel is going to be weaning itself off of American aid. So I'm going to talk to you about that. This is something that I've been calling for them to do for a while now. And frankly, I think it's unprecedented. It's an unprecedented move in the sense that, you know, just walking away from money that's being offered to you is something I don't know that anyone's ever done. Certainly not walking away from billions of dollars. But why that seems to be the smartest move for Israel at this particular time. Plus, we have a goal. What's tonight's goal? If we get 15 super chats in quantities of $10 or greater, it doesn't have to be super chats. It could be Rumble Rants. It could be Digger Dollars. Send in quantities of $10. I get 15 of those. I'm going to do manifesto work. Also, I'm going to be having a call in where I talk to you, my listening audience. I'm going to just get you on the phone and feel you out. I feel like a couple of you need to talk to me tonight. So hopefully we'll make it there. Hopefully we'll make it there. If we do, great. If not, that happens. This stuff happens. All right, so all that and more. Looking forward to, so settle in there, get comfortable in bed, saddle up with your headphones on your TV, wherever you have me up there, and let's get cozy as we start this off. But the first thing I need to start you with, very first thing we should start with is this call from our great senator from Utah, Mike Lee, who is basically pushing for something that's perhaps more essential than anything if you want to have a happy election season come November. And that is his call for immediate filibuster reform.
The time is right now for filibuster reform. We've got to either enforce the talking filibuster or nuke the zombie filibuster. Status quo is not working. And if we're going to accomplish the reform agenda that the American people sent us here to accomplish, we've got to get this done. There's a natural impulse in Washington that encourages people to hold off on doing what needs to be done until tomorrow or next year or whatever it is. But sometimes you run out of clock with that, and this is one of those moments. So if you agree with this, help amplify the message. It's time to move forward with filibuster reform right now.
Amen. Amen. Yes, it is past time, way past time for us to move forward with filibuster reform. Talking filibuster, zombie filibuster, this entire situation is out of hand. You know, supposedly you only need 5 senators to call for removal of the leader of the Senate. Why can't Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, find 3 other people? We're always hearing about how base Josh Hawley is, or John Kennedy. Kennedy is. Why is it we can't get 5? Why can't we get 5 to just basically say we're done with Mike Thune? I don't understand. Someone should be asking based Mike Lee that. I like Mike Lee a lot. I'm simply saying, shouldn't be that hard. Shouldn't be that hard. Get 5 people. You know them. You talk to them. You drink with them. They're your peeps. Is that how the kids say it today? They are your peeps. So, yeah, we definitely need filibuster reform immediately, so badly. Oh my God. I don't know. Look, as it is, I don't know that it's not going to be too late to implement the Save America Act for 2026. I really don't. But even if, some people were claiming that they couldn't get their states up to code in time, at this point, I would take Save America Act going into effect in 2027. Why not? I need this thing passed. You're telling me that you can't get it passed because some of the Republicans are crying about the fact that my state can't comply with this in time, all this other nonsense. All right. Look, we see when states are motivated what they can do. They can just flip a map, get votes passed, things move through. That's what you see when you have a base state like Alabama, Texas, Florida, South Carolina. When they want something done, they get it done. Then you get Lisa Murkowski. You're just like nothing happens. People complaining all the time. So that I can't get my state up to code. So give me a year. It's really not that hard. At this point, we have to just sort of accept the fact the Save America Act is not going to govern in 2026. I'm not saying this because I'm okay or because I trust them for 2026, or because I do not appreciate the significance and magnitude of the 2026 midterm elections. I'm simply saying I can recognize a situation for what it is. So much as a lib boy may be really uncomfortable with his genitalia, I can be really uncomfortable with the state of our elections, but I can at least recognize these are the facts. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with, and that's the difference. So recognizing what we're dealing with, so let's fix it for going forward. Certainly not going to get it passed if you lose the elections. If you lose the midterms, you're definitely not getting it passed. So we'll get it passed now. Get it passed now for 2027. Why can that not happen? What's the excuse for that? This is a man I was supposed to get on the show, I think tonight. I think he was supposed to be here tonight. Just rename the Save America Act the Trump Sucks Act. And Dems will demand passage. It's so true because no one reads any of these bills anyway. But I think the reality is that the Save America Act is not going to be governing the 2026 midterms. Though it should have been, obviously, though all Americans want it, or, a more significant majority of Americans than you can find on just about any bill proposal we've heard about in the last 10 years. But it's not happening for this election for one reason or another. So why can we not get it passed for 2027? And at least have it that it's there. Get these states in the direction that they have to start complying with the Save America Act. Because if it doesn't pass now, it doesn't pass for this election, we're still going to have more elections, God willing. 2027, 2028. And so we're going to need we're going to need these laws in effect then. And we're not going to get it passed if, assuming, God forbid, we lose the House. You'll never get anything passed. That's not going to happen. I'm going to send you a link. I feel terrible. I wanted to hit you up to pop on in here because I'm supposed to have you like twice a month. That's what we said. And the fault is 1,000% on me. 20 million new voters have registered in 2020, virtually all of them in states that do not require ID to vote. It's insanity. It's insanity. And they're going to do everything they can to swamp and steal as many seats as they can. We know this is going to happen. So why not get it past 2027? The excuse that we heard from Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins was, well, I can't get my state to get it done in time for the 2026 elections. Okay, so let's have it go into effect 2027. I'll take that at this point. I need something. In the club. Your peeps in the club? Is that it? I'm going to send you a link, Andrew, just because I feel like I miss hanging with you. Why not? I can do that. So I'll bring it on in here if you have time. No pressure. No pressure whatsoever. Yeah, I sent you the link. I meant to send this. I meant to reach out to you last week, and I just never did. So anyway, what we got going on tonight is the Supreme Court came out with a rapid fire decision, which just said that no one expected, because this thing came down just so fast. They ran to court. What was this? This was May. Look at this. Alabama ran to court saying, "Hey, our maps are no good." Once the Calais versus Louisiana decision came out, they ran to court. This was them running to court just a few days ago.
This evening, Alabama Republicans have just filed an emergency request with the U.S. Supreme Court, asking the justices to lift a lower court ruling that stands in the way of their redistricting plans. Now, if Republicans succeed in all the proposals currently underway and the new maps pass legal muster, they can actually stand to net anywhere from 4 to 13 new seats before the midterms, Brett.
That's significant.
That was what we heard last week. That was all last week. Well, today we had this. Breaking: the Supreme Court of the United States just cleared the way for Alabama to redraw their congressional maps ahead of the 2026 midterms. 6-3 decision. Another massive win for Republicans. Go all the way, Alabama GOP. We want a 7-0 map, not 6R1D. Get it done. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Supreme Court halts the order for Alabama to use the map. This is AP reporting, with 2 largely black districts. U.S. Supreme Court on Monday set the stage for Alabama to eliminate one of the 2 largely black congressional districts before this year's midterm elections, creating an opening for Republicans to gain an additional U.S. House seat. Could be 2. Right now, there's 2 Democrats from Alabama. In a partisan battle for control of the closely divided chamber, the decision follows a Supreme Court ruling in April that struck down a majority black U.S. House district in Louisiana as an unconstitutional racial gerrymander, significantly weakening a provision of the Federal Voting Rights Act. I would say that's a fair assessment. It does significantly weaken it. It certainly weakens. I don't know if it weakens the statute. It just is an interpretation in far less racist terms than it's been interpreted for the last 40 years. Alabama officials have pointed to Louisiana case as a reason for the Supreme Court to end a judicial order to use a court-imposed House map until after the 2030 census. The High Court on Monday overturned that order, directed a lower court to reconsider the case in light of the Louisiana decision. That could free the state to instead use a map approved in 2023 by the Republican-led legislature that includes only 1 district where black residents comprise the majority. So I guess they're still expecting that they're going to keep that 1 black district. That's not going to be all red. Perhaps. Who knows? This is Mark Elias. Mark Elias, famous Democrat operative / attorney, who slimy individual who has his own stupid little news thing, crying about it over here on what he calls the democracy docket. Democracy is another word for evil, obviously. If you're watching this show, you're probably well aware of that. So in his evil docket, what he has here is Supreme Court greenlights 11th hour Alabama redistricting plan for 2026 election. This shocked a lot of people on the left. They did not expect this to come so fast. The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed Alabama to select a different map for this year's congressional elections in a stunning last-minute move to interfere with another state primary election that has already begun. Ooh, it's already begun. So there's some absentee primary ballots, they say. The order means that Alabama will discard its court-ordered congressional map for the 2026 primary elections and use a 2023 map that courts previously struck down as a violation under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act instead. Well, that's been overturned, so that shouldn't surprise you. Last month, SCOTUS issued its landmark ruling in Louisiana versus Calais, which gutted the Voting Rights Act and made it much more difficult for minority voters to prove the electoral map unlawfully dilute their voting power. No, that's ridiculous. That's not at all what the decision says. See, this is him reframing. It simply says you cannot be racist, and racist is if you're racist against white people. Can't be racist against white people. Can't be and your current maps are all racist. That's pretty much it. It says you can draw it on partisan lines. You can't draw it on racist lines. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey responded by swiftly calling a special session. So she's moving on it in an attempt to change the maps for congressional and state districts, even though voters had already begun casting absentee ballots in the May 19 primary election. Who cares? Absentee ballots in a primary? Ooh, upsetting the apple cart. Absentee ballots in a primary. Alabama lawmakers raced to pass legislation authorizing a new election for those congressional and state Senate seats, and state officials filed requests with SCOTUS asking the court to speedily lift the injunctions blocking the state from using its challenge map, which have been struck down by the courts. Let's look at what the Supreme Court wrote in Alabama. I think that's a good thing we should be looking at. This is a brief overview of it here, but I'm going to look at it. I want to look at it a little bit more. Let's look at it a little bit more in detail, because we should. I'd love to join them at a hotel in the mountains of southern Utah. Poor internet wouldn't work. Well, you'll be missed. Hey, thank you. I got 2 super stickers. Both from Oriana Gap. Thanks. That's very thoughtful of you. I can't see what they look like. I know there's always different dancing emojis and stuff like that. I never get to see it. I feel shortchanged. I do. I feel shortchanged. But, yeah. All right. Let's look at this decision from the court, because this decision will help explain why it's not completely over. We really could lose this win. This win could slip away. It could. All right. This is the decision. It's only 5 pages. It's mostly just the dissent from Sotomayor, and that's where we're going to be spending much of our focus here, because she does something very, very unusual. She almost sounds like she's pushing the lower court to ignore the Supreme Court. That's how she really walks up to a line here. All right, so the underlying decision, very short paragraph. The motions to expedite are granted. These are the motions to expedite to overturn the illegal maps that were found to be illegal under Louisiana versus Calais. Petition for writ of certiorari before judgment in number 252243 is granted. The judgment in that case is vacated. That judgment is the judgment which declared that the maps that Alabama wanted to use were not sufficiently nice to black people, essentially. The case is remanded to the United States Court of Appeals, the 11th Circuit. Now it's remanded. That means we're sending it back, right? We're sending the case back to the 11th Circuit with instructions to remand in the district court for further considerations in light of Louisiana versus Calais. So when you made your decision, it was before we had Louisiana versus Calais. That changed the whole landscape here. So you made your decision saying, oh, Alabama, you got to go have these pro-black maps. Louisiana versus Calais said that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. So you really need to overturn that now. We need to see that going now. We need that going now. The judgments 25-273 and 274 are vacated, and the cases are remanded to the U.S. District Court for the 11th Circuit. From the Northern District of Alabama for further consideration in light of Louisiana versus Calais. Let's just focus on this language. You're supposed to look at it in light of Louisiana versus Calais. That's what the majority here ruled. 6-3, right? And the three liberal justices over here, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Justice Jackson, join in a dissent. Okay. Let's hear this dissent. This is a little bit just, it's a bit much. It's a bit much, but all right. Today, the court vacates a district court order enjoining Alabama's 2023 redistricting plan and remands for reconsideration in light of the court's new interpretation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act under Louisiana versus Calais. There's no reason to do so. In addition to holding that Alabama's 2023 redistricting plan violates Section 2, the district court held in one of the three cases before this court that Alabama violated the 14th Amendment by intentionally diluting the votes of black voters in Alabama. That constitutional finding of intentional discrimination is independent of and unaffected by any of the legal issues discussed in Calais. So what she's saying is it got knocked out because of their findings that there was intentional discrimination, that was intentional diluting the votes of black voters. So what does that mean? It's almost like she doesn't understand Louisiana versus Calais. Vacatur is thus an inappropriate and will cause only confusion as Alabamians begin to vote in the election schedule for next week. I respectfully dissent. She does more than dissent. You're going to see. In fact, I'm going to cut ahead because I don't want you to lose track of what she ends up ultimately saying, because what she says at the very end, the last paragraph here, is astonishing. I'm going to jump ahead here. This court today unceremoniously discards the district court's meticulously documented and supported discriminatory intent finding and careful remedial order without any sound basis for doing so and without regard for the confusion that will surely ensue. As with all vacators of this kind from this court, the district court remains free on remand to decide for itself whether Calais has any bearing on its 14th Amendment analysis, or if its prior reasoning is unaffected by that decision. So what she's trying to tell the lower court, wink, 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 is if you're free to say Louisiana versus Calais has nothing to do with our decision, and therefore we are going to reject Alabama's new maps and bring it back to the racist maps that we have now. That's what she's saying here. Now understand, because she says you can basically come back to us. You could say, well, we looked at Louisiana versus Calais. We don't think it's got any bearing on us. Understand this. What did the majority write? The majority wrote over here, yeah, we're gonna overturn everything here, and we're gonna give instructions to remand further consideration, considering Louisiana versus Calais. Why would they be doing that? Why is the majority telling you to do that? Obviously, they think the majority of the court is ruling here that Louisiana versus Calais has a lot of bearing on this case. Along comes Justice Sotomayor, like basically any classic liberal, and is pretty much saying as much as she can without, risking impeachment. she's pretty much saying, hey, you can decide for yourself that the court's wrong and that Louisiana versus Calais got nothing to do with this case. Come back and tell us it's got nothing to do with it. That's what she's inviting them to do. And she's purposefully doing this. So if you're sitting here all excited saying we're going to be getting these brand new maps in Alabama, if you think that this is a done deal, I'm telling you right now, I hope you're right. I hope you're completely right. I hope that the district court is sufficiently understanding as to how crazy this sounds, what Justice Sotomayor wrote here. Because she basically comes up, even when she wrote this part, the first part, but she basically is saying, you can come back to us and you can say to us, hey, Calais, you're free on remand to decide for itself whether Calais has any bearing on its 14th Amendment analysis or if its prior reasoning is unaffected by the decision. And clearly, I hope you're going to say, no, it has no bearing. That's what I want you to do. She's pretty much directing them to do that. I mean, how else do you read this? She's like, reminder, you're free to do this. It's the same. It's no different than Seditious 6 saying, hey, you need to disregard an unconstitutional order. Here she's like saying, you have this right. This is an opening. Courts never do that. They never say you have a right to do this. Whatever a lower court can or cannot do. When you have a Supreme Court justice have the audacity to come out and make such an insane statement, this is craziness. This is craziness. You can come back and tell the majority of the court, yeah, it's got no bearing on us. I don't care about it. And what's the logic that she's trying to employ here? Let's walk through that because we need to give the devil her due here. The logic that she's trying to use is to say that, hey, if it was a violation of the 14th Amendment, but in that case, if there was real racism, then Louisiana versus Calais doesn't matter. You're still allowed to, you should, be stopping that. But they weren't finding real racism. That's the whole point to the court. What was the reason for their finding? Their finding is that it diluted the votes of black voters. Diluting black voters is not a problem. You're allowed to dilute them all you want. And she's implying either she doesn't understand or she's trying to confuse the district court or the public, definitely the public, that diluting black voters is a problem. You are free under Louisiana versus Calais. You are free to dilute black voters all you want. No one cares about that. You just cannot do it because you want to be racist. You can dilute black voters because you say, hey, look, there's a lot of Democrats here. I don't like that. I want to split them up. You're free to do that. So she's making the whole focus here when it's interpreted before Louisiana versus Calais. And they're understanding the Voting Rights Act. You need to just put yourself back in 2023 when this thing is first decided. We don't have Louisiana versus Calais yet. So at this point in time, if you're trying to understand what the law as it relates to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, you think to yourself, well, I'm not allowed to dilute black votes. If I dilute black votes, I'm violating the 14th Amendment. That's what you think. Because that's what all your case law precedent is telling you. So what would you write? You write, oh, you know what? This is a 14th Amendment violation. You look at the Voting Rights Act as bolstering the 14th Amendment. But Sotomayor, pretends that there's something illegal about intentionally diluting the votes of black voters. No, it's only intentionally if you're doing it because they're Democrats and you don't care whether they're black or white, then it's totally legal under Louisiana versus Calais. This is not the first time that this litigation has come before the court. Following the 2020 census, Alabama redrew its congressional districts. Plaintiffs then filed these 3 cases in 3-judge district court preliminary enjoined, should be preliminarily, but and a 3 Yeah, it is preliminarily. She left out the IL. And a 3-judge district court preliminary enjoined Alabama's first plan. This court affirmed that injunction in Allen versus Milligan, holding that Alabama violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act when it adopted a congressional districting plan that unlawfully diluted Black Alabamians. By splitting them across multiple congressional districts at 9-10. In doing so, this court also affirmed the district court's order instructing Alabama to remedy this identified racial discrimination by drawing a new map containing 2 districts in which Black voters would have an opportunity to elect a representative of their choice, commonly referred to as opportunity districts. Those are the special districts that we've talked about many times on this channel. Then came round 2, which is now before this court. Rather than draw a map with 2 opportunity districts, Alabama adopted the 2023 redistricting plan, which contained just 1. The district court then held an 11-day trial on a renewed challenge to the legality of this new map. It heard testimony from 51 witnesses, received nearly 800 exhibits, and considered volume upon volume of written submissions. So? Who says there's anything there saying that there was racism? Just because you're splitting up Black votes doesn't mean that you're doing it for racist purposes. At the end of that trial, the district court concluded with great reluctance and dismay and even greater restraint that Alabama not merely spurned the opportunities to remedy past discrimination, but in fact had intentionally violated the 14th Amendment. In a 268-page opinion, the district court explained that this enormous record was replete with sharp departures from and some outright conflicts with Alabama's traditional districting guidelines, as the state fashioned redistricting criteria from the whole cloth that it had never previously employed. The district court said, had conjured legislative findings out of thin air. Yeah, but that's before they had a right to basically come out and say we're doing it on partisan basis, because you didn't have Louisiana versus Calais saying, hey, totally do it. Go in there on partisan basis. This is before that the case law enabled Alabama to come out there and say what was really the truth is, hey, we just want to have a lot of Republicans in here. The district court observed that the result of this tortured legislative process was a precisely engineered set of redistricting rules and criteria that made it mathematically impossible to create a second opportunity district. Yeah, that's well within their rights. In short, the record showed that Alabama made an intentional choice to perpetuate and entrench rather than remedy and uproot the racial discrimination that the district court had previously found this court had affirmed. No, they're trying to remedy the fact that you had that you basically had these racist districts. That is what they're trying to do, because these districts were racist. The district court thus permanently enjoined Alabama's 2023 redistricting plan and instituted a remedial map drawn without any reference to race. So, like I said, I can't get through the rest of this insufferable thing. But like I said, I'll tell you right now, I don't know that the Supreme Court, when it gets remanded back to the Northern District, the Northern District of Alabama? Is that what it was? Yeah, Northern District of Alabama. I don't know that when this goes back to Northern District of Alabama, that they're going to overrule anything. They might go along with what Sotomayor said. They might say, hey, we wrote 268 pages on this. Sotomayor claims that we can rely on that. Let's do that. And here's the problem. The problem is the timing. Every day, obviously, as we're getting into primary season, every day is a critical day for, producing proper ballots, having the proper lines drawn. If, in fact, the Northern District of Alabama takes Justice Sotomayor's advice to heart and says, well, we don't think Louisiana versus Calais affects our decision here, then it's going to have to get appealed back to the 11th Circuit and then back up to Supreme Court. This is all time. This is all. It's a way that they could stomp on the clock. They can draw things out here to make it difficult to have these the new Alabama maps kick in. You know, we're at crunch time now. It's May. You're talking we're 6 months from November, and you got primaries that have to happen. So, you know, a 2-week delay here could be a serious blow. That's why the Supreme Court acted so expeditiously. And here you have Justice Sotomayor coming in here basically suggesting to the Northern District of Alabama, and I don't know what kind of judges you have there. I don't know if they're as tilted as some of the judges we've seen across the country. But basically pushing the Northern District of Alabama to tell the majority of the Supreme Court to pound sand and say Louisiana versus Calais has no business here. That's the reality. So while we should all celebrate and be happy about the Supreme Court's, the win that we had with the Supreme Court today and the expeditious nature of their work, I want you to be sufficiently informed to understand that this may not end up being the final go round in court. It really all now is in the hands of the Northern District of Alabama, what they do. And at least one justice is telling them, ignore the majority. There's no other way. There's just no other way to read this. There's no other way to read this. And if you're a justice and you basically say, hey, I spent months working on that decision. I spent months working on that 268-page decision. And the Supreme Court, I got the majority of the Supreme Court telling me that they want me to look at it again in the light of Louisiana versus Calais. I really rather not do that. And here I have another Supreme Court justice who's telling me I can tell them to go jump in a lake. And if I tell them to go jump in a lake, worst case scenario, so it'll go up to 11th Circuit. Maybe they'll overturn me. Maybe they won't. It's going to take them several weeks to review why it is that I'm saying this. I don't have to come out with a decision in 2 minutes. I can issue an injunction on using the new maps until I have a chance to review. I could spend a month doing that myself. So there's a lot of reasons to have concerns here as to whether or not these new maps that the Supreme Court is saying we should have for 2026 will actually be in effect for 2026. That's what I wanted you all to be aware of. Did I? That's possible. I don't remember clicking that button. There you go. Thank you. What's the makeup of the district judges? We can look at that. But really, we should look at who's the judge in Northern District of. Who was the judge who decided this was coming back from their lap? That's really the key thing, right? It's going to get remanded back to that judge. So we can ask Grok that question. I think Grok is a good entity to ask that question. Hey, Grok.
Hey, what's up?
I'm looking for information about West Allen versus Castor, Supreme Court decision. The case was remanded back to the Northern District of Alabama. I'm wondering which judge is going to get remanded back to.
It's Judge Anna Manasco. The case is in her court in the Northern District of Alabama, case number 221CV01536, and she's the one who's been handling it all along. The Supreme Court's remand today sends it right back to her.
What can you tell me about Judge Anna Manasco?
She's a sharp Alabama native, born in Montgomery in 1980. Top tier
Who
education.
appointed her?
Trump nominated her, and the Senate confirmed her in 2020.
Is she the one who issued a 268-page decision that is referenced by Sotomayor in the dissent today? Is she the one who issued a 268-page decision as referenced by Sotomayor in her dissent today?
Yes, that's her. Sotomayor specifically cited Judge Manasco's 268-page opinion in her dissent today, highlighting the detailed record showing Alabama's intentional vote dilution under the 14th Amendment. That ruling came from the Castor case she's been presiding over.
All right, so that actually fills me with some hope. I apologize for missing this earlier, Tammy. I now declare the tracksuit in favor of white pantsuit. Rant away. Really? A white pantsuit? Really? Why? Why? Oh, hell no. Oh, heck no. There's no, you can't. I apologize for missing this earlier, Tammy. How? How could that possibly happen? Why would that happen? No. No. All right. Well, okay. Let me explain something to you about this Judge Manasco. It's a little scary because, like I said, you might be inclined to go back to your earlier decision, but that earlier decision could be rooted based on pre-Louisiana versus Calais thinking. So do want to just double check, make sure that. This is 268 pages. That's long. Yeah, it was Judge Manasco. All right, so like I said, look, hopefully I'm raising a concern that we never need to worry about, because Judge Manasco very easily, and look, she's Trump appointed judge. That's pretty much as good as you can be hoping for, right? Trump appointed judge in Alabama. You have to hope that perhaps she was basically going by the precedents that she had seen before, and that she's not going to spend much time, it's not going to invest much time looking at what Judge Sotomayor wrote. And she'll go along with what the majority wrote. That's what she should do. That's what she should do. But the notion as to what Sotomayor was basically trying to push the district courts to ignore the Supreme Court. And there's really no other way to look at what she wrote and come to a different conclusion. It's really astonishing. I found it astonishing. And like I said, hopefully, we never have to worry about this again. Hopefully the next news we get is, oh, the court approved The district court approves Alabama's map, and we move forward. Now, a lot of people are not happy people. A lot of people very angry. Few are angrier than Mark Elias. You might know him as the guy who basically helped orchestrate the Russian collusion hoax and inspire that. You might know him as the guy who basically is a twisted Democrat operative. But over here, he is on MS Now, venting like a lunatic because he's not happy. He's not a happy man these days. He's very, very not happy.
I've not heard you this angry in a long time.
So make you a little louder so you can appreciate just how angry he is. I want you to appreciate just how angry he is.
Just share with this how this scrambles your workload.
Like, look, I mean, in the end, here's why I'm angry. In the end, Democrats are still going to take control of the House.
Of course they will.
Okay, like that's the good news, right?
That's the good. Okay. Maybe it could happen.
In the end, I think Democrats still could win the Senate.
Really? Really?
In the end, like, politics will be politics. But the reason why I am so angry is because the Supreme Court of the United States chose to strike down a law that was passed in 1965 that Congress was
They didn't strike it down. They gutted it. But they didn't strike it down.
In dialogue with the court, okay, over in the 1970s and 1980s. And for the last 40 years, we have lived under a set of principles that all players have accepted as a fair, level playing field.
No one ever accepted as a fair level playing field. It was a purposefully tilted playing field. We all accepted that was what was going on. No one thought this was level. No one thought this was fair. This was insanity. Nobody thought this. What are you talking about? That's not what happened. We thought it was a level playing field. In what way? In that we'll start you off with 30 Democrat seats no matter what. 50 Democrat seats no matter what. We're just gonna start you off with that. Totally level playing field. Retarded.
Years, we have lived under a set of principles that all players have accepted as a fair, level playing field. And then a group of white Louisianans decided to challenge
a group of white Louisianans who were being discriminated against in violation of the 14th Amendment.
Map, and the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the parties to argue a case that none of the parties wanted, which was whether the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was still in effect under the right test. And then the parties did it, and they chose to issue an opinion in the middle of May while primaries were going on, and then the U.S.
Primaries. There's absentee ballots that might have been sent out in primaries.
The Supreme Court thought, you know what?
He's like spitting.
Sure, we let black voters wait 2 years and vote under illegal maps, but God forbid these white voters have to do the same in Louisiana.
What are you talking about? When did that happen?
That would be a constitutional crisis. And against all of that backdrop, have we learned nothing?
You are so evil and twisted. And he's so angry. He's so angry.
I mean, have we learned nothing? Has the broader legal community not learned anything? Other than the civil rights groups, have people not learned that when you do this to black voters, it turns out bad for democracy for everybody?
So democracy is inherently evil. Whatever we can do to undo everyone ever thinking that democracy is good, that's a good thing. Democracy is inherently evil. Democracy! You want to know the proof of that? The proof of that is when you have Virginia coming out there and using democracy to strip representation down to 9%. by a group of Republicans that constitute 45 to 47% of the Virginian electorate. They should be represented by only 9% in the House because of democracy, because it's basically thieves. Democracy is thieves. You cloak yourself in it as if it's virtue, unaware that anyone who actually has a clue sees you for what you are. We see you for the thief and the evil entity that you are. Because you cloak yourself into democracy. You use your democracy to basically try and undo the will of the public in 2016 by your involvement with the Democrat operatives with respect to the Russian collusion hoax in 2020 when you push forward that fraud. Because that's what democracy is. Democracy is basically it's the last weapon of the evil. It's the last weapon of the truly evil, because basically it comes across as if this is standing up for goodness, and because people don't yet realize, few people are as enlightened as you find people are to understand that the term democracy is inherently evil. So they throw that term around to basically make it sound as if they're cloaked in virtue. But folks who have a brain understand how evil you are. Save democracy. Democracy is evil power. That's what it is. That's the form of evil. It's evil power. And there's really, and that's what you need to understand when you talk when you're talking to people. Democracy means evil power. Power used in an evil way.
Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry because of the appalling silence that's going on right now around this case and the aftermath.
It's frustrating. You're very, very frustrated. Very, very frustrated. Uzelian says, so this is Texas again, but instead of it being taken to court by the federal government, they got taken to court by someone else. Cite U.S. Gov versus Texas and the case being dropped. Instead of being taken to court by the federal government, they got taken to court by someone else. You're saying like Texas versus Pennsylvania? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Uzelian. Hey, Cecil rated me. Thank you, Cecil. Appreciate that. Welcome all the Cecil Says Raiders. So Mark Elias is not a happy man, and that means that society is moving in a healthy direction. That's all that can possibly mean. That's all that can possibly mean. But when Democrats go and get angry, they do crazy things. They do crazy, crazy, crazy things. And that's what we're seeing happening in Virginia. Another reminder that democracy means evil power. This came to my attention through Shipwreck Crew. I know that Robert Barnes is not a big fan of his, but he can be helpful in your timeline from time to time. I think he's a pretty smart guy. He's got a lot of experience as a prosecutor. The current age of the 7 justices on the Virginia Supreme Court are 70, 69, 67, 64, 61, 56, 54. That's the current ages of the 7 justices on the Virginia Supreme Court. They want to introduce legislation to make the cutoff mandatory retirement. This is what they came up with. In fact, here, let's do this. Let's watch this. The Democrats are in full panic mode. They just held a private, rage-filled call on Saturday, desperately trying to figure out how to rig Virginia again after the Supreme Court torched their 10-to-1 scam map. Their brilliant ideas: fire the Virginia State Supreme Court. That's literally what they came up with. Let's fire the entire court. We don't like them. We don't like you no more. We're getting rid of all of you.
What are you going to do about the Virginia Supreme Court? Well, in a private call that was revealed, they held back the name, so they wanted it to leak to the New York Times. They say this: lawmakers vented anger at their defeat at the Virginia Supreme Court. They spoke about a collective determination to flip 2 or 3 Republican-held seats under the existing map and discussed a bank shot proposal to redraw the congressional lines anyway.
They're just going to do it anyway. Let's just do it. Who cares? It's not legal. We're just going to do it.
The most dramatic idea they discussed, which would be involved an unusual gambit to replace the entire Supreme Court of Virginia with the goal of reinstating their gerrymandered map. One key to the plan would be having Democrats in Richmond lower the mandatory retirement age for Supreme Court justices. Can you imagine?
It's unbelievable.
Firing the Virginia Supreme.
We don't like your decision. You're fired. You're fired. Oh, if only Trump could do that. Oh, if only Trump could do that. You're fired. Oh my God. They scream, no kings. No kings. No kings. Let's fire a court we don't like. No kings. That's like what Stalin would do.
Court, by the way, if you want to take off in a purple state, independents, who you need to win elections, do that. So that's, to me, insane.
Byron Donalds was on one of the shows over the weekend. He's the Republican from Florida. He's running. Yes, our favorite show, your show. Yeah. He is running for governor, and he had this comment about it.
The Supreme Court did the absolute right thing. Racial gerrymandering should not be allowed in the United States of America.
Well, that wasn't the reason that they did it. I mean, he was, I don't know if it's on the Supreme Court of the United States, or I think that's what he's talking about. They were talking about the Supreme Court of Virginia. Supreme Court of Virginia, as you know, if you watch this show regularly, and if not, shame on you, that got turned over on procedural bases. That they started that they had to have an election between 2 proposals. In case you missed that show, which is possible, look, I understand that sometimes you have emergencies in life and you can't make every single minute of every show that I ever do. So I recognize that's a possibility for some of you. So the Supreme Court of Virginia, the reason that they rejected the election was that the referendum bill allowing them to redraw maps in the middle of a decade and change their constitution to allow for that is because if you want to change the Virginia Constitution, there's a process. The process is you pass a bill in both houses of the legislature to amend the Constitution. After it passes, you have an election so that folks can see, hey, they're trying to change it. I don't really like that. I want to vote these people out for trying to change it. And then after the election, then it has to pass and you have a potentially new group of candidates in the legislature. It passes a second time. Then you have this election. So it's a 4-step process. And what they did is they only tried introducing the bill after over 1 million Virginians had already voted on who they wanted to be in the in the upcoming legislature. So the Supreme Court of Virginia said, that's retarded. You didn't follow the rules. So no. And we would have stopped you from having this election vote, this referendum vote, if you let us. But the state told us, no, you can't weigh in yet. So we waited until afterwards. And now we're telling you your vote was stupid. Your vote was always stupid. Your vote was never going to be workable. It could never possibly be feasible. We don't care if every person on the planet voted for it. It doesn't matter. We don't care if there's 7 million Virginians and you got 14 million of them to vote for it. We don't care. The reality is you didn't follow the procedure. And you very clearly ignored procedure. So now they want to fire them. They want to fire the entire court. How dare you how dare you apply the law in the most logical way imaginable? How dare you? We're going to get a whole bunch of children in here who are going to basically follow whatever rules we tell them to follow. This was the New York Times breaking it down. A private call reveals Democrats' desperation over tossing of a map. A conversation involving House members from Virginia and the top House Democrat reflected the fury and desperation that gripped the party after Friday's ruling in the Senate, in the state. Now, as we're reading this, you should be thinking to yourself, how did the New York Times hear about this? What happened? Why did they hear about this phone call? How did this get to them? Ask yourself this question. It's an important question to ask. Why did it go to them? How did the New York Times get this so fast? Democrats are struggling to respond to a major redistricting setback in Virginia, with some party leaders discussing an audacious and possibly far-fetched idea for trying to restore a congressional map voided by the court, but showing little indication they have a clear plan. It does show little indication. Surprise, shocker. That's not really a headline, is it? Democrats have no clue. During a private discussion on Saturday that included Democrat House members from Virginia and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, the lawmakers vented anger at their defeat of the Virginia Supreme Court, spoke about a collective determination to flip 2 or 3 Republican-held seats under the existing map, and discussed a bank shot proposal to redraw the congressional lines anyway. Who cares what the court says? To hell with the court. We're just going to change them. We're going to change the maps. According to 3 people who participated in the call and 2 others who were briefed on it. So 5 different people came forward with this, according to the New York Times. How does that happen? 5 people? 5 people from this call? I mean, how many people were on the call already? They did not land on a specific course forward, and Mr. Jeffries and the other members of Congress agreed to consult with their lawyers about the most prudent way to proceed, said the people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe a private talk. 5 different people? All were like, yeah. Hakeem Jeffries on the phone there. We were talking about firing the entire court, lowering the age of eligibility to serve on the court. Conversation reflected desperation and fury that have gripped the party after the state Supreme Court struck down a favorable map that had been ratified by voters. The most dramatic idea they discussed, which would involve an unusual gambit to replace the entire state Supreme Court with a goal of reinstating their gerrymandered map, drew mixed reactions on the call, said the people, and it was not clear that it would even be viable or palatable to Governor Abigail Spanberger and the Democrats in the Virginia General Assembly. How insane is this? After Democrats had fought Republicans to a rough draw last month in a nationwide gerrymander war, a pair of recent court rulings quickly gave the GOP the clear upper hand in a race to redraw maps ahead of the midterm elections. Facing stiff headwinds, including President Trump's low approval ratings and high gas prices, Republicans are looking for every advantage they can find to defy the odds and hold on to their narrow majority. Any plans to enact a new congressional map for this year's midterm elections will require action in the next few days. In a court filing last month, Stephen Koski, the commissioner of the Virginia Department of Elections, said any changes to maps after Tuesday, May 12th will significantly increase the risk of his agency being unable to properly prepare for the state's scheduled August 4th primary. So they're basically saying, we got to get it done by tomorrow. Like, we need everything done by tomorrow's May 12th. We need everything in by Tuesday, May 12th. A spokesman for Mr. Jeffries declined to comment. Scott Serwell, the majority leader of Virginia's Senate, declined to comment. On Saturday evening, Don Scott, Speaker of the State House of Delegates, said in an interview that he had not spoken to Mr. Jeffries or members of the congressional delegation about the multi-step proposal that came up in the discussion. Yeah, that's a lie. One key to the plan would be having Democrats in Richmond lower the mandatory retirement age for state Supreme Court justices, an idea that began circulating among state lawmakers and members of the Congress after a column proposing a version of the idea was published on Friday night in a down ballot, a progressive newsletter. You don't know anything about being a judge before you turn 50. Ms. Spanberger would have to sign off on any legislation that lowered the judicial retirement age. She has not been briefed on the proposal. The people involved in discussion are briefed on it, said. Her spokesman, Libby White, declined to comment because she basically doesn't know what the hell to say. She's like, I don't know if my governor has the balls to sign this thing. The first step in the process, as discussed on the delegation call, would be to invoke a January ruling by a circuit court judge in Tazewell County, Virginia, that said the 2026 constitutional amendment effort to redraw maps was invalid because county officials did not post notice of it at a courthouse and other public locations 3 months before a general election. Democrats would aim to use that ruling to seek to invalidate the earlier constitutional amendment that created the state's independent redistricting commission by arguing that courthouses across the state did not post notice of it at the time. So they want to try and basically say that the rules that came into effect in 2020 did not follow the amendment rules properly. So I have to give credit. It's pretty clever. They basically want to say that there was an amendment in 2020 which basically made it harder to do your redistricting. And it said that we're going to have this independent body. So we're going to try and overturn that in order to say we don't need to have this independent body and that the state legislature can just decide to do whatever the hell they want. Meaning, if you recall, when I went through that ruling, I think it was on Saturday night. It was on Saturday night? I think it was on Saturday night. When I went through that ruling, I explained to you all that it's a very recent thing that Virginia basically put into effect this law saying, hey, you can't start gerrymandering in the middle of a decade. And they need to have an independent agency that's going to govern that. And that amendment, what they would try to do is knock out that amendment, say that amendment is no good because they didn't have proper notice posted. Once you knock out that amendment, you say now that law is no longer binding on Virginia. We don't need to have some independent agency. And then we turn around and say, go ahead and make your maps however you want. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Ensuring the plan proceeds would involve the General Assembly, which is controlled by Democrats, lowering the mandatory retirement age for Virginia's Supreme Court from 75 to 54, the age of the youngest current justice or less. Virginia judges are appointed by the General Assembly, where Democrats hold majorities in both chambers and can then fill vacancies on the court with sympathetic Democratic lawyers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Mandatory requirement ages are in place for judges in 32 states and Washington, D.C. Most common retirement age set by states is 70. They're going to make it 54 just because. Why? Because the current ages of the 7 justices on the Supreme Court are 70, 69, 67, 64, 61, 56, 54. The idea the legislature would lower the retirement age 53 in order to remove them all is just beyond wild. I mean, realistically, you only need to lower it to 60 and get rid of 5 of them and then just replace them with 5 people who you can feel confident in. They would install 7 new justices who have to commit in advance to reversing the prior court's decision. That tells you everything you would need to know about anyone who would pledge to do that. True. True. It tells you everything you need to know. Although it wouldn't be overturning last week's decision. It would basically be saying we're overturning the amendment from 2020. That's the real plan. So I don't know if Shipwreck Crew really digested this when he wrote this whole thing out. 3 justices voted in the minority, but you can't exempt them from the retirement because they might object to a corrupt process to remove their colleagues for no reason other than naked partisan politics. This would destroy the functional independence of Virginia Supreme Court. Of course it would, because basically the threat is there. And I think this is why the phone call was leaked. I think the reason the phone call was leaked is because of they want to scare the Supreme Court of Virginia. Leaking the phone call to the New York Times. How does that get leaked? I started that article off by asking you, how the hell does New York Times get their hands on this information? 5 people from the phone call? decide we're going to basically turn against our own and admit that this is something that came up? No, this leak was coordinated and it was planned. The leak was coordinated and it was planned as a way of trying to scare the Supreme Court of Virginia that if you come out with another decision we don't like, we are going to fire you. That's the reason you do this. Or it's to float it out there and see, well, how crazy does the public think this is? How much flack would we get for this? How outrageous do people find this to be? How objectionable does this sound to the public? And then they gauge a meter, basically saying, is this something that the blowback is not going to be worth it or not? So if we leak it to the New York Times, there's a double effect here. One is we get to gauge how much of an impact this has on the public. The other is that we scare the Supreme Court, saying, hey, if you start acting in ways we don't like, we're just going to fire you. It's a double effect. That's why you do this. That's why you leak it to the New York Times. So that the conversation itself becomes the story. And you have an opportunity to basically feel out what your next step should be, while at the same time sending a chilling shockwave through the Supreme Court. It's very similar to what FDR did, where he started floating out there when he saw the New Deal was getting hacked to pieces by the Supreme Court. He basically started threatening, maybe I need to pack the court. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to pack the court. Next thing you know, Wickard v. Filburn comes out there, and all of a sudden now the New Deal is deemed to be constitutional and within federal power. So I think that it's likely both elements. I think that they probably want to scare the Supreme Court, and I think they also are trying to get a flavor for how outrageous does this sound to sane people when sane people hear about this happening. And it is incredibly outrageous. It is. This would destroy the functional independence of the Virginia Supreme Court and be a permanent stand on the votes of every Virginia Assembly Democrat who went along with it. It would bring condemnation from courts and legislature all across the country. Virginians need to take a hard look at the people it's electing and ask whether they have a foundational commitment to the great American experiment that has held this country together even through a civil war, in Virginia of all places. So, yeah. That's the plan. Let me catch up on some of these chats. She slow walked her dissent in this last case. That caused a delay. It would make sense she would do this. Yeah, it would. I agree. I agree. It was always best de-escalate when dealing with Democrats. Phrases like calm down and you sound like your mother seem to work well. Yes. I highly recommend. I highly recommend. That's pretty much the most effective way to get anyone to calm down. De-escalate. There you go. I like it. JH, Joe, would it be legal to draw districts based on people who support 2A and those who are against it? Because I know some Democrats who are very pro-gun and some conservatives who are wishy-washy on it. Yeah, I think so. It would be if you were so inclined. If you were so inclined. Kimmy says, my bet is Manasco won't be a nut job activist. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. I just, look, I had to call it to your attention. When the dissent is basically telling the lower court, hey, screw this up for the Republicans, we think you should. It's not impossible that they're going to stick by their original ruling. In all honesty, what's happened is SCOTUS has gotten rid of congressional affirmative action. This is true. They have. They're getting rid of DEI. They're getting rid of racism. Mark argues with the energy of a Karen. Oh, he's so angry. He is so angry. I feel like I want to watch more of him on this. You know, when I just seeing the aggravation when like their evil plans are being foiled feels so good. It feels so good. I forgot to give you the horn for that. The one in the red has blue armpit hair? Probably she did. Legendary racer member for 4 months is Chang retirement age, change the retirement age of the Supreme Court. 2, goes before the Supreme Court. 3, Supreme Court says it's valid. 4, any new Supreme Court justice going forward. It's so corrupt. It is so utterly corrupt. And Jeffries has no shame in that he's like, no, they're not doing that. If he had any leadership at all, he would be like, no, you're not doing that. Or he might say, you know, but he basically would say they won't do that. They're not doing that. If he had any sort of real leadership, it shows you just how utterly corrupt he is. That he could be on that phone call, and then when asked about it, he basically is unwilling to reject the idea altogether of firing the entire Virginian Supreme Court. What a namby-pamby. What a complete loser he is. Complete and total loser. You're a freaking leader of your party. They brought you in there because you're the leader, you're the minority leader in the House. And you're basically willing to basically sell your soul like this. You're a loser. You're an utter loser. Kimberly Campbell says, funny how the Democrats yell that gerrymandering is racist while yelling the Supreme Court is racist because they ruled that gerrymandering can't be done on the basis of race. Yes. I think they assume that most Democrats can't read. That's pretty much what they assume. Is that most Democrats can't read, which is also pretty racist. If you think about it. Zelen says, when the Biden administration took Texas to court to block their redistricting, Alabama just wasn't taken to. Oh, this is going back on his earlier comments. So earlier he had said, so this is Texas again, but instead of being taken to court by the federal government, they got taken to court by someone else. Cite U.S. government versus Texas, and the case is being dropped. Oh, when the Biden administration took Texas to court to block their redistricting, Alabama just wasn't taken to court by the feds. Yeah, well, what happened is when they tried redistricting, they were taken to court to try and stop them from redistricting. That's how this ended up before SCOTUS, as far as I understand it. As far as I understand it, that's what I think is happening here. In my hypothetical, you missed the point where it doesn't affect any current Supreme Court justice. It changed the retirement age of the Supreme Court. Goes before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says it's valid. Any new Supreme Court justice going forward. Oh, you're saying that, oh, so you were suggesting that that would be a way to like ensure that we don't have, I mean, which justices are you worrying about? I guess you're worrying about appointments from Democrats? I do think, I've never thought about the whole mandatory retirement age. I've never addressed that on this show. I'm very neutral about this. The reason I'm very neutral about it is because I think that there's a very big difference between the mental cognitive abilities of a Clarence Thomas or a Joe Biden, even if they're in the same general age range. How old is Clarence Thomas? I know he's up there. He's the second longest serving justice of all time. Grok, how old is Justice Clarence Thomas?
He's 77, turns 78 next month on June 23rd.
Yeah. So I don't know that if they change the retirement age of the Supreme Court, that's going to have that there's even a legal issue to go before the Supreme Court. So yeah, I don't really. I think that a lot of people end up holding on to their cognitive abilities far longer than others. So I don't know that it's really that serious of a problem. And some justices, I'm really happy that they're there for a long time. I'm happy Alito is there, even though he's older, as is Clarence Thomas. These are two of the best justices we've ever had in this country. But speaking of Virginia and their lunacy, some of you may remember Jay Jones. You remember Jay Jones? He made headlines last October when he was running for election. Because he had sent out violent text messages that took center stage. This is Jay Jones over here. Jay Jones, this is in October, it was reported Jay Jones, Democratic nominee for Virginia Attorney General, expressed his regret for graphic violent language directed at a colleague in text messages. Where's your text messages? Jay Jones texts. He had written, if those guys die before me, I'll go to the funerals to piss on their graves, send them out a wash and something. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. I mean, it's a lunatic. It's a lunatic. There's somebody hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. This guy's a lunatic. He's a psychopath. It's a freaking lunatic. So he's Virginia's Attorney General. Despite the publicity of these posts, that's how sick and demented Democrats are, that they vote for people like this. And this is what he puts out there when he's running to the Supreme Court now, trying to get his Supreme Court of Virginia decision overturned. Okay, so the AG of Virginia, Jay Jones, has filed an emergency appeal to the United States Supreme Court, asking them to overrule the Virginia State Supreme Court's ruling. And while he may have sent it through spell check this time, he failed to change templates because this one is still going to Supreme Court of Virginia. This boob sends an emergency, this is in the Supreme Court of the United States, on emergency application to the Supreme Court of Virginia. Oh, you can't see it. I'll make it a little bigger for you so we're all on the same page. Look at this idiot. This is what his cover page says. But this is an improvement for Jay Jones. This is an improvement for this psychopath, this lunatic. Excuse me. Because in their application, Virginia Democrats misspelled Virginia and senator in their motion to delay the Supreme Court, Virginia Supreme Court's ruling on gerrymandering today. They wrote Virginia and senator. Pathetic. Pathetic. How many people work in your office? Unbelievable. So I like it when psychopaths get embarrassed. And yeah, I think it'd be really funny if this will be rejected. This application will lose. I'm predicting this. This application will lose. There's no chance this wins in the Supreme Court. Literally zero. Zero chance. This is not possible. I'm telling you right now. There's no chance that this will win in the Supreme Court. Zero. Less than zero. Very, very small chance it even gets picked up by the Supreme Court. But even if it were to get picked up by the Supreme Court, it would shock me if it would get picked up by the Supreme Court. But if it gets picked up by the Supreme Court, they're gonna send Jay Jones packing. There's no way they're disturbing this Virginia, the Supreme Court of Virginia's decision. That's just not gonna happen. So they know that this is a ridiculous Hail Mary. Even crazy sociopath, psychopath Jay Jones knows that this is a ridiculous Hail Mary. There's not even any basis. Why the heck would they be? Why would the Supreme Court of the United States be weighing in on Virginia state constitutional law? I mean, it sounds like a retarded argument in the first place. It doesn't. It's like, what? Why? You think it's the Supreme Court of Virginia? So, and this is what it is, a violation of our civil rights, that we want to change our 6-5 maps 10-1. Our civil rights are being violated. We demand that we must have the right to change our 6-5 maps 10-1. And the Supreme Court of Virginia just isn't letting us doing it because they say we failed to follow procedure. That's not right. That's not right. Now, I know that they're probably going to make all these arguments about Election Day and what an election is, because that was an essential part of the holding here, and try and lean into what the Supreme Court has said about this, but they still don't understand what Election Day means to the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court is in the middle of mulling that over right now. But yeah, if they think that they're going to be bailed out by the Supreme Court, they're just... The smoke is rich in Virginia. It's rich in Virginia. Joe, I can see a $500 super chat in your future if you call Mark Elias right now and tell him you're writing a manifesto and you want his input because you love him so much and you want his help. $500. I just need his number. I need a contact number for Mark Elias.
Sorry, I don't have a contact number for Mark Elias. If you've got more context, like his company or location, I can try searching for it.
The Democrat operative strategist.
The best public number for Mark Elias is the main line at Elias Law Group, 202-968-4490. They'll know how to reach him. No direct personal number is publicly listed.
Can you just write that out in in Arabic numerals?
202-968-4490.
Okay, let's see. What exactly am I supposed to ask for here? What are we asking for?
You asked for a contact number for Mark Elias, the Democrat operative.
I got your number. Oh, I'm totally going for this $500. Are you kidding me? Do I need to give my name or not? You tell me. GH. All right. I'm sure I got his voicemail. I'm sure I got his voicemail. Mm-hmm. Elias Locker.
Welcome to our voicemail system. You have reached the mailbox of 1002. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, press pound or simply hang up.
Hey, this is Joe, aka Good Logic. I'm looking to get a hold of Mark Elias. I love this dude. His passion is amazing. Off the hook. Amazing. He's like, it's almost as if you can see like the aura. There's like an aura around him. He's that great. I don't know how our society would even survive without Mark Elias. I need Mark Elias to please get in touch with me as soon as possible. I'm in the middle of writing a manifesto, and I need his inspiration. I need his passion. I need his drive. And this manifesto is basically going to spell out everything about the way the world needs to work. I need his help. Please, please, I am begging. I love him, and I need Mark Elias to basically come out there and just give me that final push. This is going to be the greatest manifesto ever written. Please make sure he gives me a call back as soon as possible. My cell phone number is 972-454-0703. Please, I'm begging, make sure that he calls as soon as possible. This will be, together, we're going to do amazing things. Mark, you and me, we're going to do amazing things, Mark. You and me. Love you, brother. Love you. Awesome. Awesome. Keep strong. There you go. So, Drop Barracuda says, I miss the Anthony Weiner days. Now they just show their whole arse social media and open communications. This is true. This is true. That was the easiest $500 I ever made in my life. It probably is like midnight there. 202 is a DC area code. All right. What else do we have for you? Oh, yes. Israel is taking my advice and ditching American aid. This is good for everyone. Thank God. Oh, my God. So good. So good. Oh. Good news for everyone. Good news for America. Good news for Israel. Smartest thing in the world. Smartest thing in the world. Oh, let me make sure I didn't miss. So this is what first alerted me to this news. was this clip here.
Benjamin Netanyahu just had an interview with 60 Minutes, where one of the things that he talks about during this interview is how he has informed President Trump, as well as his people, that Israel is now weaning itself off of all financial aid, financial support from the United States of America. This is an incredibly smart move. And so, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you, sir. It's amazing. Bravo.
Yep.
He can read the writing on the wall. It's
Yep.
a good thing that he is making that effort to completely drop all American financial aid. Now, the reality is the amount of, quote, aid that the United States of America gives to Israel is nothing. It is a drop in the bucket. It is absolutely nothing. $3.8 billion per year, as far as the United States of America GDP is concerned, that is 0.02% of our GDP. And it's only about half of 1% of Israel's yearly GDP. And it needs to be stated very, very clearly that this $3.8 billion that the United States of America, quote, gives to Israel, it's not a charity. They are under contract that the vast majority of that money, 90 to 95%, has to be returned to the United States, invested in the United States, in our companies. Thus,
which they spend on Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and basically buying weapons. Essentially, they buy something like $46 billion worth of weapons from us per year, and they pay $43 billion, and we've been picking up the other three to 4 billion. So, and frankly, I agree, and I've said this for a long time. There's just no reason for it. There's no reason for it. And I said, going back probably now to October 2023, when this issue started coming up, I was like, hell yeah, I don't want to be spending our money on them. Lockheed Martin wants to give them a discount because they're buying so much, or Raytheon or whoever wants to give them a discount because they're buying so much. Let the company eat it. You are a very honorable man. You're a very, very honorable man. God bless you, brother. God bless you. I'll give you the horn. Offering you $500 is like hooking a trout. I knew you'd go for it. I went whole hog. I obviously didn't. I didn't hold back at all. I'll give you, just on this alone, in honor of JH, go! Man, I thought I was gonna have like a short night tonight. I was like, we're not hitting the goal. In my brain, I was like, we're not hitting the goal tonight. Well done indeed. Well done indeed. And it makes sense, like, because the goal was both phone calls and manifesto. So I called someone about my manifesto. I called Mark Elias for my manifesto. Anyhow, where was we? Yes, so it's not necessary, but yeah, thank you. You had to say your daily limit do 5, so here's 4, else and the other 100 through locals. Thank you. Like I said, it's not necessary, but thank you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I've been saying for the longest time, the reason I was saying Israel should, if they, even if they're one of our 5 closest friends, if you look at it with like in a personal relationship, right? In your personal relationship, you're like, hey, I don't spend money on my friends. You know, like what? Like we need to give them money in order for them to stay friends with us? What kind of friendship is that? Do you have friends like that? They're like, oh, I'm only gonna be your friend if you keep giving me tons of money every single year. You don't have friends like that. No one has friends like that. If Israel is gonna ditch us because we stopped giving them money, then they were never a friend. So I was like, yeah. Someone who comes along and says, I want to stop giving money to Israel, I say, yeah. If that's all you want to stop giving money to, I ask that question. Well, why just Israel is your fixation? Like, why is that the only one that's bothering you, as opposed to like, you know, Ukraine or it's Indonesia or the countless countries across the world that we're always giving money to? Like, why is that the one that's really your bugaboo? But you tell me you want to end foreign aid to everyone, including Israel? I'm like, hell yes. Sign me up 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000%. I am all right here, right here, right here. I'm totally on board. Totally on board. And I said that Israel itself should recognize that, you know, it doesn't come without a political, there's a cost. There's a very pricely cost, a political capital cost in taking this money. And they should recognize that. And fortunately, Bibi is sufficiently politically savvy to recognize that.
Helping our economy and our American employees.
Yeah, okay.
But
no one accepts
nevertheless,
that. No one accepts that.
Netanyahu, wise, honorable, courageous, amazing leader, he understands the reality that this is a huge deal for a lot of Americans who, unfortunately,
I like how he's fluffing Bibi. I think Bibi is is probably one of the most underrated world leaders in history. Trump is 1,000,000 times better, but if right now, if you could choose a world leader to represent you, top of the list, you would put Trump easily. Then what would you put? Orban? You put Fuera guy, right? And Bibi. I don't even know how I put 5. Who would you put 5? I wouldn't even know who to put 5. Those are the top 4 right now. Right? I'm saying people who are world leaders right this minute. What would you put number 5? Putin? Who are you putting number 5? Not Zelensky. That's for sure. That's for sure. If you could choose who's your world leader tomorrow, you put, fine, Trump number 1. End of story. He's phenomenal. And then you tell me. Like I said, I would come up with Orban, Bibi, Afuero, Javier Milei, and I don't know, maybe Putin. maybe Putin. I agree with you. It becomes a transaction. It becomes ugly. So it was ridiculous.
Unfortunately, are just stupid and they don't know the facts concerning these matters. And
I think a lot of people know the facts. They just don't really buy the whole thing that giving money to Raytheon is like really helping America. It's a very incidental benefit to America.
He's taking the steps to wean themselves entirely off aid from the United States of America. They're looking to build up their own military industrial complex. They're going to be standing on their own 2 feet entirely.
And they should be. They've been around for 75 years. What's it now? 78 years. By now you should be, standing on 2 feet.
So that 5-10 years from now, Israel, they can 100% by themselves defend themselves.
And that's the right way to do it. Build your own weapons. That's what you need to survive, so do it. Do it.
That's exactly what they need to do. And so,
all right. Epoch Times reporting Netanyahu says he wants to end U.S. military support for Israel. Now, the timing here is I'm just wondering, like, okay, so how long are we weaning off? Washington currently provides Jerusalem with military aid to the tune of $3.8 billion a year, slated to continue doing so until at least 2028. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on May 10th that he hopes to wean Israel off of U.S. military support within a decade. In 2016, under the Obama administration, the United States agreed to give Israel $38 billion in military assistance. The Memorandum of Understanding covered U.S. fiscal years 2019 to 2028. I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation we have, Netanyahu told CBS News 60 Minutes on May 10th. He said that it's absolutely the right time to reset the U.S.-Israeli financial relationship, and he doesn't want to wait for the next Congress. The state of Israel has long enjoyed support from both Republicans and Democrats in the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, particularly concerning military aid. Since the outbreak of war in Gaza, in response to the attack by Hamas terrorists against Israel on October 7, 2023, that left about 1,200 Israelis dead, support from both politicians and the U.S. public has waned. A Pew Research poll published in March found that some 60% of American adults now view Israel unfavorably, and 59% said they had little or no confidence that Netanyahu would do the right thing regarding world affairs. Both those percentages had risen by 7 percentage points from a year earlier. Netanyahu told 60 Minutes that the deterioration in support for his nation among U.S. citizens correlates almost 100% with the geometric rise of social media. He said that several countries have basically manipulated social media in a way that hurt Israel, but he said that he does not support censorship. It's another thing you gotta like about this guy. He's never once called for censorship. Schmucks like Jonathan Greenblatt call for censorship. You never hear Bibi saying that. Netanyahu said these nations use bot farms with fake addresses to break American sympathy toward Israel and rupture the alliance between Washington and Jerusalem because they think it's in their interests. And they do it in a clever way, he said. You know, it's like you hear a text message, I'm a red blood in Texas. I always supported Israel, but I can't stand what they're doing. I'm turning against Israel. And then you trace the address to some basement in Pakistan, you know? Seeing that all over the place. And by the way, that's on Elon for not cleaning that up. Because I see that with all these America First entities. And I see this more and more. Massive accounts that everything they send out is like 6 months old, and it's, you know, breaking news. Tulsi Gabbard exposes Barack Obama and gets like 20,000 likes from some video clip from last July. You're just like, what the hell's going on here? How is this something that Elon can't fix? And then it's like breaking news. You know, Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. Some clip of like Jesse Waters talking about like, and finally Roe v. Wade has been overturned. And you're just like, you know, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? What is going on? I don't understand. Defending Israel's actions in Gaza and Lebanon, Netanyahu said that the Jewish state had gone to unbelievable lengths to prevent civilian casualties. Quote, we text message millions of text messages to them, he said, make millions of phone calls to them, pamphlets, leaflets, you name it, okay? And whereas Hamas and Hezbollah go out of their way to keep their own people in harm's way, they shoot them. Netanyahu said that although there have been civilian casualties in the course of Israel's actions, the proportion of civilian casualties, non-combatants to combatants, is one of the lowest in the history of modern urban warfare. Although the Israeli leader declined to discuss his nation's future military plans or a timetable for ending the war against Iran, which Israel is prosecuting in conjunction with the U.S., he did say that it was only after conflict had broken out that Israeli planners recognized Iran's ability to close the Strait of Hormuz. Quote, it took a while for them to understand how big that risk is, which they understand now, Netanyahu said. He said he believes that if the current Iranian regime is weakened or ousted, it will be the end of Hezbollah, Hamas, and probably the Houthis, because the whole scaffolding of the terrorist proxy network that Iran built collapses. When asked whether it was possible to topple the Iranian regime, he said, is it possible? Yes. Is it guaranteed? No. I'm going to tell you right now, we need to start getting the hell out of Iran. Okay? We need to start getting the hell out of Iran. We need to start winding this thing down. It's time. We can't do this any much longer. We need to get the hell out of Iran. This is becoming a very taxing situation, which will destroy the Republicans in the midterms if we don't get out soon. It's time. It's time. You know, I gave my leash. I'm still supporting, but my support is starting to evaporate. Support Trump, but my support for this operation is really evaporating. They said they completed Operation Epic Fury, and now they gave it some new name. Well, some new name just means our troops are still out there and people are still exposed, and I don't like this. So I know we're not, and I know we're not in Iran. You're right, but we need to call an end to this entire thing soon. It's time. Because you need to have time for the palate to cleanse before the November elections. Look, I'll be frank with you. You know, if he closes it temporarily, he brings them home temporarily and goes back out there in December, I don't care. I do care about the impact this can have on our elections. And to ignore the political ramifications is foolhardy. It's not that there's an alternative. I would never advocate to vote for Democrats. I'm simply saying you're going to end up sapping support for Republicans. And we'll end up getting killed in the midterms. Instead of, people just won't come. They just won't show up. And then what? Joe, you really need to listen to Susan Kokinda. She's laying it all out. We need to get rid of this globalized agenda. It's coming to an end real soon. When? When? You're going to do it in October? When? Wait, now you're applying this to me? You're applying my own logic to me? I actually, is that what's happening here? No, okay, I want to explain something to you. Unlike the woke right, I still support our operations. I want us to be successful. I'm simply recognizing a political reality here, saying at a certain point it's going to be too late. At a certain point, it's going to be too late. And I'd rather err on the side of pulling out early than after that, you know, than after the negative seed has already been planted too deep. So, no, I disagree very strongly with Viva and Barnes and their attacks on Trump for this operation. I think this operation was a necessary and brilliant thing. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a political reality that we have to get them home. And we have to basically, you know, say, we have to publicly announce we're done and let Israel do what Israel needs to do. Israel wants to, if Israel's going to keep attacking, let Israel keep attacking. But I'm not saying that Israel has to come home. I'm saying America has to come home. No, we're not. We're not the world police. We're not the world police. I don't sign up for that. Why are we the world police? Why would that possibly be the case? All right, I'm going to take calls on this. Of course I'm worried about an election. Why would you not be worried about an election? Of course, you have to be worried about an election. All right. You guys want to argue with me about this? Phone lines are open. Does not seem like Mark Elias is calling me back, unfortunately. But feel free. The number is 972-454-0703. It's 972-454-0703. Come at me. Come at me. Tell me where I'm wrong. I'm not even saying they need to come home today. I'm simply saying we need to start basically laying out a plan for when we're getting the heck out of there. And I understand that you don't want to you don't want to tell your enemy your strategy, but and we're still in there on my birthday, which is the end of June. We got problems. And to just ignore that is sticking your head in the sand and saying and not dealing with reality. We have real problems. I've been very, very clear about this since day one. I said, you tell me you need 6 weeks, I'm willing to give you that leash. I'm gonna give you that, and I say, God bless, go get him, and you're a hero. Hey, look at that, day after mine. The number is 972-454-0703. It's 972-454-0703. You can see it on the bottom there. It's also around the time you should be hitting the like and subscribe buttons. But I would love to hear from those of you who think that I'm being too. If you disagree with my take, why?
Call from.
It's Mark Elias returning your call.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Mark, I'm in the middle of writing a manifesto. Are you able to help me out?
Oh, sure.
Great.
How you been, Joe?
I've been good. I've been really good. Should I call you Mark Elias the rest of the call, or you're gonna give me your real name?
No, call me RPP, you fool.
What do you think? I saved my phone here? It's like, oh, it's RPP. It's you and me.
I don't know why he didn't call you back. I mean, that was a good long message. That should have lured him in.
You would think so. And the opportunity to join up a total stranger in writing a manifesto, who could say no?
I think he's got an AI staffer, dude.
I don't know how it is. What was he thinking? What's he thinking?
He's got Grok basically, fielding his calls for him.
Okay.
Going, hey man, that's not a legit person that likes you, so don't call him back.
Maybe you're saying,
it's something.
You figured that out. You're saying I should have given
either that, or it just goes to a generic thing that gets screened by whatever, and he never calls anybody back.
That's probably more true. What are your thoughts about our operation in Iran? You think that we should just keep going and going and going?
I think we should have been out 6 months ago, buddy.
Okay. So you agree with me that, but are you okay with what we did so far?
No, because when they did the hammer thing and made that big announcement, they committed to something that they couldn't deliver on, and that really messed up the faith.
Right. I think that Rubio, in my opinion, did a good job of explaining, saying, look, what we did, but they still had a capacity to basically build up missiles, which would make it impossible to take them out in the future.
I absolutely agree. I don't think that any of what Rubio, I'm still not, a big fan of big ears, but I don't believe he did a bad job. I think he did a good recovery. The problem is Trump immediately come out with his blather and blew it. you send a crony out to tell them it's over. Remember when we got done supposedly in Baghdad and the war is over?
I'd forgotten that, but yeah.
And you know, Bush announced the war is baby Bush, you know, announces that it's all over.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we already heard a failed effort to end it once from a Bush. Now we got a second one. Trump comes out and makes the same blithering idiot mistake.
Well,
like, I think it's over when they surrender. Then you can say it's over.
Yeah. I mean, look, on day one, he took out Khomeini. You have to look at that as a win. Any way you slice it, you have to look at that as a win. Just removing this lunatic from the earth is a win. But yeah, at this point, none of us really understand exactly what's happening, other than that there's a battle over the Strait of Hormuz. So you need to.
I'm paying $5 for gas in Detroit. It's normally $2.
That's what people are seeing. I know it's 4.5 here.
Right. So I'm paying $5. Okay. There's the food prices are still off the charts. Trump's all proud of eggs. Well, buy a porterhouse, pal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, eggs are okay at, you know, $6 for, you know, 2 18-packs. That's what I expect. But when I go out to get a porterhouse, I used to spend $12. It's $35 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The illegals are all over the place.
Well, don't try substitute with lab meat. Just don't go to lab meat, okay?
No, I won't. I won't. But what I'm saying is, I mean, I look around. I'm in Detroit. I look around, okay? There's nobody self-deporting, man. In fact, there's more. They can say it all they want, but show me remember all the videos of them coming over the border and invading? Where are the videos of them invading out? Have you seen one?
Yeah. Hold on one second, RP. I got JH hit me up here in locals. He sent a $100 tip saying, if Mark calls you back and you post a conversation, I'll do this again. You should have told him that you're good logic. I think that would get him off the couch. Please keep trying.
Hey, you're on the phone with Mark right now.
Yeah. Please keep trying. I'd love to hear you two talk. P.S. The pick is a friend, Franco, that I told I gave you money. He no understand. He's just Franco. You just need to. You'll understand. You just start watching. You'll understand, Franco.
I don't want to take up your line, Joe. Let somebody else call.
Yes, I will do. Thank you. Appreciate the call.
All right,
man. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, the number is 972-454-0703. It's 972-454-0703. Look, the reality is, Kimberly, let's bitch about grocery prices when Biden allowed millions of illegals into our country and we don't have the resources to absorb them. Kimberly, the reality is, you can't.
Call from
DeLeon.
To accept.
DeLeon.
Howdy.
Hold on 1 minute. Brother. I'm just responding to a super chat here. Look, Kimberly, what you need to understand is RPP there is, you might disagree with him. You might think he's wrong for getting caught up in the price of gas or steak at a point in time when, you know, and look at this as a temporary price that we're paying for a freer world. I agree with you. Okay? I agree with you. I trust Donald Trump, and I trust him uniquely in ways that I trust few world leaders and no leader that we've had in my lifetime, okay? As far as what his objective and agenda is here. But that doesn't mean that I can blind myself to the political reality that many people, a significant portion of the Republican Party, does not have the same level of trust in him and his agenda here that you and I have. And the repercussions because of that are something that the Republican Party will be punished for. And that's a very, very dangerous thing as far as hampering his ability to get things done during the last 2 years of his administration. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, as far as the reality, like, look, you trust Trump, you love his work, you love things that he's doing. I understand that, frankly, he's been doing it with two hands tied behind his back because it feels as if Congress isn't helping him at all. And perhaps they're not. Perhaps, and they're certainly helping him. Whatever help they're giving him is far, far, far too little. Save America Act, Save America Act, Save America Act. But the bottom line is, he's not dealing with impeachments. He's not dealing with other hassles and headaches that he will be dealing with. There's no pressure we can be putting on people if we don't control Congress at all. So, you know, you can't just ignore the political reality that not everyone's going to think like you and I think. So I'm trying to be sufficiently cognizant of the political reality to say, hey, you know, I think we need to start getting out. Purely for the political reality, despite my trust in Trump. All right, Delion, what's on your mind?
Well, a couple of things, but first I want to note, it really sucks to sound similar to Uzelion because I can't compete with them. So I really think that we do have to be the world police because we are the single point of power in the world. So we should be getting a lot more benefits out of that, and that's what Trump has been doing with his tariffs and everything.
Okay.
He has been finally using our power to actually, and our position as world police, to finally get benefits for us instead of constantly bowing out like Biden and Obama did. So having us as the world police also means that we get to control all the trade and everything like that. And that means that we have a extremely powerful economic control over everything, which should be bringing in massive amounts of funds. If we stop being the world police, then that then starts to create a bipolar situation with Russia and China working together. They could start to weaken our position more than our previous presidents already managed to. As far as
I want to slow you down because I want to have like a conversation. I don't want to just like, I'm not going to throw you off. I want to like have a little bit back and forth with you.
Sure.
Okay. So is the argument you're making,
we can go point by point.
Yeah. So is the argument you're making as far as that we should be the world police, you're saying that's a moral claim or a financial claim or political claim or what's the reason that we have a duty to be the world police? You're saying you're saying because we can?
You could find multiple orientations.
Okay.
I'd say morally, it would be a good idea, but also I don't particularly care for that because there's no.
So we're rejecting the moral.
I mean, you can have great morals, but oftentimes it doesn't put a steak on your plate.
What I'm saying is, when you say right, exactly. So that's my question. So let's say we see morally, okay, country A is bullying country B. Take out of like not in the Middle East. Let's say somewhere in South America, okay. Country A is bullying country B and abusing its population and like really just victimizing them. Do you think that it's our job to go in there and punish country A and their leadership for that and go in and protect country B? Or do you think that that's not something we should be doing? Because world police implies that, hey, look, we're the police and we're here to stop country A from bullying country B and taking advantage of its citizens. So my question is, do you agree with that or do you disagree with that statement?
I would say that the world police probably ends at the edge of international waters because that is the international zones.
Oh, so you're saying
anywhere where it's international, that should be our terrain.
Oh, so you're going with the Monroe Doctrine or the Donroe Doctrine of Western Hemisphere. That's our domain. But if it's happening in Africa, it's across an ocean, we don't need to worry about that.
I'd say anywhere inside of a nation or between two separate nations, provided it's not an ally or someone we really actually care about financially or politically, then I would say, not my circus, not my monkeys.
So India versus
However, international
Pakistan,
waters
India
and
versus
like
India
Hormuz
versus
situation.
India versus Pakistan, not my circus, not my monkeys. You deal with your own headaches.
Pretty much.
Okay. No, I just want to understand the parameters.
I could agree with that.
Fine. So I just want to try to understand the parameters as far as what you're describing here. Okay. But if it's an ally,
I don't mind being intermediary where we like, okay, you guys want someone to come to argue this dispute? We're here.
But we're not sending money. We're not sending
them.
money, troops, or anything, or imposing any sort of punishment on them.
I'd agree with that.
Okay, that's not really being world police. That's world arbiter. In that sense, in that capacity.
Yes.
Fine. Okay. Now,
in that capacity, I would agree with world arbiter.
Okay.
I'm more speaking about international trade.
Let's get to Europe now. Let's get to Europe now. You want to stay in NATO?
No.
Oh, so you want out of NATO?
We don't need to be part of NATO because we already do all the stuff anyway. NATO's just a way for them to force our hand.
Right. Okay. Fine. So so you want us out of NATO, and I'm totally on board with that. I don't want to have anything to do with NATO anymore. I'm done with them. But
I'm okay with being allies, but not being forced into this major organization because
that's what NATO means.
Again, local problems, local government.
Right.
Global problem, global government.
Okay.
Although global government's a really bad idea.
So Russia invades Poland. You say, not my circus, not my monkeys?
In that case, considering Poland could be an ally, and I believe that they currently are, but I don't know the current situation.
Fair enough.
I'm not. I would say since they are an ally, we join them because that's what allies do. However, if that is on the contingent that if we go into something, Poland must join us.
Right. Well, we haven't seen that in this conflict at all.
Exactly. That's not in this conflict, but I think that's also because of NATO. NATO is preventing anyone from actually helping out. If we're not part of NATO, but we're still allies with the individual countries, then the individual countries are going to have to contribute, or we will no longer be an ally, and then not my circus, not my monkeys.
Okay, now let's assume that Democrats are in power, and they say, "Well, this is why we want to. This is why we want to send hundreds of billions to Ukraine."
Yeah, we know why they want to send hundreds of billions to Ukraine. It all comes right back to their pockets.
Yeah, I agree with you. So this is how, and this is why Americans are fed up with it, because we see through Washington. We see through the money laundering machine that Congress has become, and this is why we don't want to have anything to do with this anymore.
We're also, however, the deals with Trump for the rare earth minerals and all that stuff, that's worth protecting. And that's why I would say,
you see, I'm going to tell you, I agree with you that Trump is a unique individual as a world leader compared to anyone we've ever seen before. But your trust in him, my trust in him, Kimberly's trust in him, and perhaps hundreds of people who are watching me right now, our shared trust in him is not, there's not enough of us to win the 2026 midterms, because unfortunately,
I would agree with that assessment.
So now,
unfortunately,
that's the unfortunate landscape of the political terrain, and that's why I say I think we need to get out of there. I mean, by the time July 4th rolls around, we're still in there. Oh my God, we're in trouble. The Democrats will be salivating for us to still be fighting over the Strait of Hormuz on Independence Day. Are you kidding me? That would be a disaster for us. So
I have a solution to that one, though.
What's that?
That's a different category than Ukraine. Ukraine is actively taking advantage of us, and that's why I would pull out of it and just say, okay, you want our stuff, you pay for it. And if NATO wants to foot the bill for that, NATO can foot the bill for that, and NATO can pay us. But they are so far behind on their payments already, I don't believe that's going to happen.
Right.
But that's because Ukraine is exactly that situation with the Democrats. honestly, if we're going by what if Democrats take power, then the answer is we're screwed. Because if your leaders and your military decide that they really hate how your country runs, we've seen how that works many times throughout history, and it is never a pretty picture. So I'd say if you're trying to destroy the country and you have the power to do so, that's not really a workable situation. In terms of Hormuz, actually, that is an international waterway, and that's why I say that we should be patrolling it and making sure it's protected. However, I'm fully in favor of, if there is conflicts and we are having to apply military force in the area, anyone who wants to go through there has to pay a toll because we are having to spend money to protect them. In which case, that is where my ending at international waters comes in, where we are the world police, because we control the waterways, we protect the waterways. And in so doing, we have a very strong economic and political position, because that is the most powerful way for trade to move, is through the sea. If we can control the sea, if we can protect the sea, then we control the world through their economic lines.
So with
the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran, we've already blockaded them. It's economic fury. We've blockaded Iran. We're knocking out China through the tertiary effects of no more oil from any of the Middle East, basically. And Karg Island is almost completely full of oil and can no longer be can't be working for much longer.
That's what we kept hearing. We kept hearing about that 4 weeks ago, that they only have 2 weeks worth of stuff. And why haven't we heard about that being backlogged yet?
I don't particularly care about that, because what I can tell you is oil is really good at burning. So you blow Karg Island out of the water, turn that island into Atlantis, and suddenly China no longer has a reason to argue in favor of Iran.
Right.
And Iran will just collapse. At which point, we now have the Strait of Hormuz protected, Iran is collapsed, and there is less oil coming from that region, which means our oil is more valuable.
So I'm on
a couple missiles, couple $1 million for trillions in oil revenue.
I'll tell you this much: I'm on board with the radical suggestion of America turn mercenary for good people, which is, if you have the money and you have sufficient integrity and alliance with us, you can pay us, and we're going to take a little bit of a profit on this. I want to be making money on this. I want it to be something that we have a positive net balance. You want us to be your bodyguard? You want us to be taking care of you? Okay, we'll do that for hire, and we're going to basically be making money, and we'll be showing a profit, and we can show to the American people that America is making money off of taking on this role. You want to play mercenary in that capacity? I'm much more open, but it's the fact that we're playing world police on our own dime. That's where I think Americans are like, what the hell's happening here? Why am I paying to be everyone else's world police? Why is that?
And the reason that's happening is the Democrats trying to destroy the country. Because we had all the power, we had all that position.
I agree with you on that.
And then we kept having Democratic presidents that kept pissing away all of our position.
I gotta go.
Because they wanted people to like us.
I gotta go, my brother.
Sure thing.
I gotta go. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a great call. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a call I gotta make here, so let me just take care of that.
Joey!
How are you, JH?
I've been drinking. You let me up. I was going to give you some money, go to sleep, and be a done guy, but no. I'm all into this. Iran needs to go. Iran needs to go now. We need to finish this deal. The stupid ceasefire thing should never have happened. We should have just kept pressing
I agree with
and
that.
just ended it.
Okay, I agree with that. Well, listen, what I'm envisioning is this. I'm envisioning that we get out and we basically tell Bibi, go do what needs to be done. There'll be no questions asked. Keep going, keep pressing, make sure you get it done. I mean, imagine this. Imagine, first and foremost, all the anti-Israel hate that's out there, right? If they're the ones who actually clean up the Strait of Hormuz, right? America says, look, we're packing it in here. We're going to let Israel, take this the rest of the way they need to do it, and then they clean up the Strait of Hormuz and take care of the uranium, and they basically go in there and take care of what needs to get done. Well, in that case, Americans stop complaining that we're still involved in this operation. Israel looks good to the world, and it's a win-win for everyone. And if they still haven't wrapped it up come December, we can go back and assist them some more.
No, I agree 100%, because I mean, it was Israel that took out the Ayatollah. It was Israel that took out the second Ayatollah. It was Israel that took out the son of the new gay Ayatollah.
Is he dead?
They named the shit out of him.
Is he dead? Is he?
No, well,
he's maimed.
Yeah, he's maimed. They don't know either way. But I mean, there would be nothing better for the world than to change this regime in Iran. Right. Nothing better in the world. To not have Hamas, Hezbollah, and the rest of the proxies, they need to go. And the only way they go is if the IRGC comes down and, we change the environment there. I can see what you're saying. Let's go in, let's do a big bombing run, and then say, hey, Netanyahu, go in, finish this up, put the Shah in, let's move on.
Yeah. But I'm simply saying I don't want to hear on Independence Day that we're still involved in this operation.
I agree.
I was like, look, I said I'll give you 6 weeks. We're now more than 8 weeks and 9 weeks, and it's like, and there's no talk of it ending. So like that's what I'm saying is we need to start talking about an election that's coming up. So
I mean, I agree 100%, but I mean, it's just, you take a country where they kill 42,000 of their own people in the streets.
They're monsters. They're monsters.
They hung an Olympian wrestler because he was at a protest. A kid. Mm-hmm. These are evil people. And the fact that we don't get that information out enough in the United States of how evil and backwards this regime is, and that what good we're doing, hurts my heart. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that somebody finally stood up to this. And I think we just need to go in and I don't think Trump wants to take out the oil facility. I don't think he wants to take out the infrastructure because he wants to leave, just like he did in Venezuela. He wants to leave a functioning country that just moves on from this crap.
Well, let me, I need to sort of move along, but I wanted to thank you. I want to thank you for adding to the show tonight. Is there a topic you want me? Because I think my audience really enjoyed that phone call. I think. Is there a topic you want me to cover in the manifesto?
No. My daughter, I am, how can I say it? You've elevated me in my family life with putting me in that. It was incredible. Okay. And, I'm just here to contribute to the show. I want to see you succeed.
You're awesome.
Love you to death. But move on. Go on. Bye.
Thank you, brother. Good night. I am going to say to Exile the Knights of Malta, who I know you had a very rough night tonight. If you want to if you try calling in and give me your area code, I'll try to get a hold of you. All right. So, because I know you had a rough night, and if I can be like someone you can talk to, you let me know, and I'll try to help you out. Also, Brian, I know I'm not sure what your area. What was your area? Do I know your area code, Brian? I might know your area code. I saw you left me a long message, a long DM, and I didn't really fully understand it. So if you wanted to talk about that, you can feel free to call. I don't know if you want to talk about that on the show or not, but yeah, not sure. Anyway, all right, we're gonna reopen this up. Yeah, it's a good point. Judge Boasberg was like, what if he doesn't ignores my ruling? I want to fire the whole...
Call from Kimmy Hunt.
Kimmy!
Hi, Joe.
Are you going to get mad at me also for saying we need to start getting the heck out of Iran?
No. I think I'm getting mad at the people that think that we need to just stay forever.
I know.
I mean, come on. This is supposed to be 2 weeks.
6 weeks, they said. Yeah.
Then 6 weeks. Now we're at 9 weeks. And this is dragging on. And my gas, I don't mean to bitch about gas, but $4.99 a gallon on a fixed income? No. I can't do it. It was never this high with Biden.
It was, I think.
Not in my area. Nope.
But
not in Ohio. Nope. We didn't get to $4.99.
I think he's taking steps. I think he's taking steps to try and bring down the price, but
yeah, he cuts a federal tax or something on gas.
Yeah.
But
that's pennies.
Governor DeWine said he would not cut the Ohio tax on gas temporarily to give some relief. We're in big trouble here, as far as that goes. But I'm done with that. What concerns me is all of these measures are being taken to try to keep the House. All of these Herculean measures, all of these court cases going back and forth, and Louisiana and all this and back and forth, and everybody's melting down and everybody's getting elated at certain things.
I know where you're going with this.
Where?
I assume you're going with this. What the heck has the House given us in the last 2 years?
Well, no, it's not that. The House has passed some things. The Senate doesn't.
Right.
The Senate doesn't do a dang thing.
Right.
But all I'm saying is, to what end is all of this drama with these court cases and back and forth, and the Supreme Court just ruled really quickly and blah, 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 and this is going to happen next, and South Carolina is going to get rid of Clyburn, and ha, 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 and Benny Thompson is going to be gone, and and all this, and then Trump just drags it out in Iran. And then he loses because of that. The independence. We've lost the independence.
Yeah, but I think it takes a couple months to bring him back. It takes a couple of good months.
Well, yeah, a couple months. What I'm saying is, Patrick Bet-David says he thinks Trump will get out of there by World Cup. He doesn't think he wants the World Cup to be going on with this whole thing going on in Iran.
The World Cup is mid to late August, isn't it?
No, June, mid-June.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we're going to be out of there by June. Hold on a second.
Also Trump's birthday.
I'm asking Grok. Grok, when does the World Cup start?
June 11th, 2026.
June 11th, 2026. All right.
And Patrick Bet-David said also Trump's birthday is June 14th, I think, which is Flag Day. I don't think he wants the 250th birthday celebration of our country being sullied with this Strait of Hormuz and all this loose ends needing to be tied up. I think he just wants a big celebration without all this hovering over his head. That's my thought process. I think when he gets over there to China, he's leaving tomorrow or Wednesday night. He's leaving for China. He's taking Elon with him, and some others. And I really think the head of Boeing is going with him and somebody else. I can't remember who. I heard somebody say it. Anyway, I really think that he's going to have China. He's going to have some deals for China. And what China has to give to Trump is China has to put pressure on Iran to cut it out. And I think that's what he's thinking of doing here over in China.
I don't know that he's going to get Xi to do anything he wants.
I don't know, but that's my hope.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm thinking anyway. I hope that happens. I'm praying that something breaks that way, because Iran's just going to keep. We used to call it Indian giving when we were kids. You Indian giver.
Yep.
You know, where you give something and you take it back, give something, you take it back, give something, you take it back.
Yeah, I know what an Indian giver is.
Yeah. Of course you do. But the kids today say psych, you know.
You know, but by the way, the term Indian, I actually was watching a George Carlin clip today on X where he said that the term Indian is not what people think that he mistakenly thought. There's nothing wrong with the term Indian. That people think he mistakenly thought he landed in India, but it's unlikely that he would have called them Indians because back then it was called Hindustan. So it's unlikely he thought that. In his Spanish wasn't that good. That Columbus was actually Italian, and he called them Indios something, which is like people of God, which is kind of funny considering how many gods that they had. But that's the origin of Indian, probably.
But wasn't he heading for the West Indies?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he thought that he hit it.
Indies. Okay.
No,
anyway,
that's the point. Is that
I
he
don't
didn't
know.
think he
But
hit it.
also, didn't Fox News today say that the UAE is now bombing in Iran? Their planes are flying over Iran and they're bombing certain sites. The UAE has gotten involved.
It's very hard for me to keep track of like which places are being bombed when there's so much fog of war as to what's happening, you know? So it's like...
Well, from Fox News, Brett Baer and John Roberts reported that the UAE has joined the fight. Okay, did they sign one of the Abraham Accords with Israel?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we get Saudi involved too, and then we step back until December, let Israel and Saudi and UAE or whoever else, and then we can get back involved in December if we have to.
Yeah. And by the way, while you're here on the phone, I'll just mention, I agree with what Kimberly wrote here. A lot of these influences are being bought and paid for to spread this anti-MAGA propaganda by the globalists such as Obama, Cerny, and Soros. Yeah, I agree with this. I agree that there definitely is a lot, even if they're not being directly paid, which I think many of them probably are, but even if they're not being directly paid, I think that there's so much click value in it and people who are nobodies are becoming, big, massive channels and getting a big, massive voice from beating this drum as far as attacking Trump over and over again for everything. But
we have to look at this politically and realize, okay, if that's what they're doing, we need to wrap this up.
Right. The fact that
take the fuel away from their fire.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, Kimmy. Have a great night. Amazing Disgrace says, do you think Trump and Netanyahu argued over who takes credit for ending aid to Israel? It's reasonable that either could benefit from the optics. I don't know. It's an interesting question. We do it for the petrodollar? That's why we're there? Gente and Diaz is Italian for feathers, not dots. Gente and Diaz is Italian for feathers. Not
Call from.
This is Thad, the man.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Thad.
Hey, you picked the night that I'm watching videos on Zoot.
I'll give you 60 seconds. I gotta get to manifesto work here. So.
Oh, there's a guy you forgot in the bad Jews part.
What?
Zelensky.
Oh. Yeah, I did forget him.
You gotta add him for sure.
Yeah, I agree. He deserves his own page, I think, Zelensky. I think Zelensky deserves his own page. He deserves his own page. I think I'm torn between hitting on one of the two different types of trans. Well, I'll probably say that for Wednesday with what's his face with Sin. Yeah. Or I kind of like the idea of celebrity. I think in general, celebrity worship. People talk. The reference that was made earlier was celebrities talking politics, but I would actually morph into celebrities in general. Just the whole notion of what the royalty that we deem that we drop on celebrities. That's actually really good. That's a good area. I think I'm going to go in that direction. Mr. Miller says, thanks to the free locals last year, my wife had filed for divorce. Life was heavy. Through a lot of self-reflection, better communication. This September, we'll celebrate 15 years married. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy. That is great. Excellent. You look like a lovely couple, too. That's so nice. That is so nice. Happy anniversary. Well, I guess it's September. It's a while away. But also, I really respect what you teach about life and people, agree politically or not. Anyone paying attention can see you're generally a good man. Your reach goes further than you realize. Thank you so very much. It's really very heartwarming. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thad, I'm gonna let you weigh in here on what your thoughts are with respect to Team America World Police.
Well, like I said, I missed most of your video today, so I don't know about world police. I don't want to be world police, but this is very different.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the minute the first bombs dropped, it became mutually existential. Either we win and we survive, or they win and they survive and we don't. That's something you have to come to grips with. Because if they get breathing room, if they get to regain some strength, they're going to come at us, and they're going to come at us hard. They're going to try to destroy our empire, as they say. And if you listen to guys like that idiot Larry Johnson, they're already, or Scott Ritter, they're already saying this is the end of the U.S. empire.
See, Thad, the problem is this. The powers that be have turned public opinion into such deep distrust of them that no one, even if it's true, far too few Americans believe this. When I was growing up in the 80s, everyone accepted this as being true. But there's been so much exposure about the rotten corruption in DC that people just do not accept what you just said as being true. And there's no way you'll ever convince them. They'll think that you're, even if it is true, because people never realize the bullet, people don't recognize the traffic accident that God protects them from. You know what I'm saying? Like you get stuck in a conversation with someone that you don't want to be talking to, and it ends up delaying you by 3 minutes, and you end up not getting hit by a bus because of it.
Well, you know what
you don't appreciate that because you don't realize that that's what would have happened if not for that 3-minute conversation. So instead, all you sit and do is you say that 3-minute conversation is 3 minutes of my life I'll never get back again, instead of saying it's 30 years of your life that you just gained. Because we don't know the horrible outcomes. And when we're told about these horrible outcomes, there's such potential outcomes, there's such distrust, and that it's being said in good faith, and that rather you're trying to weaponize me, so I'll support you in your next neocon war. That's the notion that the cynical American has developed because of the distrust our government has has spent decades baking into us. So if I think you're lying to me all the time, now I'm not talking about you, obviously, Thad. I'm saying, like, if I think, my government leader is lying to me all the time, my TV is lying to me all the time, my newscasters are lying to me all the time. In that case, when they're coming to me and perhaps telling me the truth, how am I supposed to glean that they are telling me the truth and not just trying to lie to me yet again? And people are very scared of looking like a fool and saying, I'm going to trust you again. You think I'm an idiot? So even if you tell me the truth now, I'm going to feel like I'd rather get hit by the bus. That's how people think.
Well, you know what you're saying now?
What's that?
You're saying the U.S. deserves to die. If you truly believe that, you're saying the U.S. deserves to die.
No, I'm not saying the U.S. deserves to die. I'm not saying that's not what the conclusion I wanted you or anyone to take from what I just said.
Just like the Roman Empire deserves to die.
I'm identifying the current landscape. I'm identifying what the current landscape is. And that's why there has to be a shift into how we approach things. Instead of just assuming that the public's just going to accept reality for what reality is, there has to be a shift into like something different than what we've been doing. I'm not saying it has to die. There's a difference between dying and doing things in a different way. So what I'm saying is that's why it's much harder to sell Americans on Team America World Police. Because people are just like, okay, that's all a lie and it's all just corruption and you're just lining your own pockets and you don't care about the dead Americans or the dead troops or my dead brothers and sisters. You're just basically sitting here full of crap. So that being the case, we sort of need to recognize that, hey, we need to approach this a different way because the constituents here are not going to be supportive of this. So we need to find a new direction as far as how to make sure that we are staying safe while at the same, or as safe as we can, while disentangling ourselves, if only because that's just the reality as far as what you're going to actually get support for. Otherwise, because what's going to happen otherwise? You'll keep advocating this. I'll keep advocating this. And we're going to end up basically losing elections and we'll be run by leaders who are far more lunatic. Far more lunatic.
Well,
we'll be run by the Mamdanis of the world and the AOCs of the world and the Bernie Sanders of the world. And we're going to have all these different and Karen Basses of the world and Gavin Newsoms. And that's who our leaders are going to be. And they're going to just basically make this country collapse financially and chase away every rich person and try and punish them for being rich and penalize them for actually succeeding and, and basically rip us apart that way. So we sort of need to figure out how we're going to actually, juggle all these plates. It's not easy.
On that point,
yeah, go ahead, Dad.
On the election point, if the Democrats are going to be such big winners in November, if there's going to be this big blue wave, which is going to be a wave would be something like at least 20 seats or more likely 40 seats. If that's going to happen, why are they worried about Virginia? Why are they worried about Alabama? Why are they worried about all this stuff when at most it's going to net the Republicans 10, which is not going to
because no one
stop
knows
that way.
Because no one knows what's going to happen. No one knows. No one knows. So you always want
I think it's because they have polls showing them it's not going to be that big.
Right. No, and that's
Trump's distrusted.
Yes,
they're distrusted more.
And Thad, I gotta let you go, but you're making a great point here that I'm going to follow up on after I let you go.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think is going to happen in the war.
But I just want to follow up on the point that you're making is that I think you're making a good point that Mark Elias would not be so furious if he was that confident that they were going to take the House.
Yeah.
But go ahead, wrap up in 30 seconds. What you got?
Okay. This is phase 2, this kind of calm. Phase 3, the U.S. is going to go in, bomb out whatever defenses Iran's rebuilt or has left. At which point, Israel they were droning checkpoints previously. You know, the Iranian checkpoints where they were stopping the citizens and inspecting them and even killing them. They're going to be able to do that kind of very precision bombing that takes them out. We are going to be smuggling guns to the protesters and encouraging them to rise up. The dumbest thing I hear is, why aren't the protesters rising up? Well, you know what? The first thing Trump told them to do was not rise up.
Damn.
Remember? He said, sit home, be safe. We'll let you know when the time comes.
We need that uprising. I agree.
So,
I gotta go, brother. I've got like a million things to do here. But
so that will, I think, end it, because there's all sorts of internal fractures with the regime. I don't think the military loves that they're importing Iraqi jihadis to help them out, considering they fought against their Iraqis 30 years ago. So I think at that point, it will all fracture. The protesters will somehow take over. I don't know what will happen then. I don't think Trump does or cares.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right, my brother.
Any regime is better than this regime.
This is true. This is definitely true. Have a good night, my friend.
You say it'll get worse. It can't get worse.
I'll catch you later. At a certain point, I'm like, I got to get to work. So I think the hitting on celebrities is the next part of our manifesto. So I want to just cover that. All right. All right, Grok, we're up to the next part of my manifesto here.
Got it. What's the next part about? Give me the topic or who you want me to go after, and I'll write it in the same unhinged, screaming style as the rest of your manifesto.
It's time for us to go after celebrity worship. The idea that people view celebrities who star in movies or TV or rock stars or politicians as if they're some sort of spectacular people, rather than the fact and that they deserve to be treated like royalty. And this fascination that American culture has with worshiping these idiots and listening to them about whatever they say. It started with, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, and all of a sudden they just became the voice of the nation of sharing like what deep thought is, despite the complete airheaded lack of education, lack of insight, lack of anything other than ability to act, or questionable, strike that, a questionable ability to act that somehow managed to get the and good facial genetics that enabled them to be thrown into the public spotlight. And the next thing we know, we're all supposed to be listening to these jackasses as they sit there spouting out whatever nonsense. It manages to be bouncing back and forth between the three brain cells that they happen to share amongst each other. It's insanity. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating for America and for Americans that we actually pay any heed or any attention to these morons at all. They are loathsome scum. They have no morals. They have no integrity. They have no values. They lie for a living. All they care about is their own personal wealth, their own fame, their own friendships, and basically building themselves up into being some sort of Goliath as if they matter. And they're all so terribly narcissistic and insecure, and I'm talking especially about the politicians, but just as much our celebrities, and that the tragedy of Americans actually looking up to these clowns as if there's something honorable or noble for us to be looking at, when we should be looking at them with utter disdain. We should look at them with contempt. We're disgusted by their very presence, rather than sitting there just oohing and eyeing and sighing. Oh, if only I get an autograph. Oh, if only I could just meet these pathetic losers.
Here's a strong, angry rant version for this section of your manifesto. Read it in a fast, disgusted tone. Celebrity worship in this country is absolutely disgusting. We've become a nation of pathetic, brain-dead idiots who treat actors, rock stars, and politicians like they're gods. These people aren't special. They're not wise. They're not deep. Most of them can barely rub two brain cells together. They lie for a living. They have no morals, no integrity, and no values. All they care about is fame, money, and staying relevant.
I'm liking
They're
it.
narcissistic, insecure, empty shells, and we treat them like royalty. It started with, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And somehow we let these clowns become the voice of the nation.
I like it.
Now we're supposed to listen to these airheaded, half-educated morons lecture us about politics, science, and morality? It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. These pathetic losers have questionable acting skills, decent bone structure, and suddenly we're hanging on their every word like they're prophets? They share 3 brain cells between the entire industry, and we act like they're brilliant. We should look at them with nothing but contempt and disgust, not admiration. Instead, grown adults are lining up like starving dogs for an autograph from these narcissistic frauds. It's time we stop worshiping these hollow, soulless clowns. They don't deserve our respect. They deserve our scorn. Want me to make it more unhinged and ranting, or is this the tone you're going for?
Way more unhinged. And let's start throwing out names of different people. I want you to lump together AOC, Robert De Niro, Barack Obama, and George Clooney. Okay, but I want you to also just come up. I want you to start listing off one after another. I want to be hearing, but not like just as far as, I want you to just throw out. I don't want it to be like a list of here's 20 celebrities or politicians you can think of. That's stupid. I want it to be that you're continually just throwing out like a different one, like Ben Affleck or you know, Drew Barrymore. I want it just to be like thrown out in the middle where you just sort of you know, just start yelling like, sorry, Ben, you don't know what the hell. just because you managed to get paid a couple of rubles to appear on Bill Maher doesn't mean all of a sudden you're some sort of freaking intellectual. How do you like them apples? You know, I want you to like basically, you can, if you steal lines from like the famous lines from movies, and I know it was Matt Damon who said that, not Ben Affleck, but it's those two are interchangeable. So but the point is, I want you to just be throwing people out and be mocking them while at the same time be like yelling about how they suck.
Here's a much more unhinged, ranting version. Celebrity worship is making this country brain dead and pathetic. We're on our knees worshiping these empty, narcissistic, talentless clowns like they're gods. AOC, Robert De Niro, Barack Obama, George Clooney, you're all the same. A bunch of arrogant, out-of-touch idiots who think because people know your face, your opinion suddenly matters. How did we get here? Ben Affleck, Drew Barrymore. You people can't even act your way out of a paper bag, but we're supposed to listen to you lecture us about life? Sorry, Ben, just because you got paid a few million to mumble through another movie doesn't make you deep. How do you like them apples? Bill Maher, you sit there pretending you're some intellectual because you say, new rule. Shut up. You're not smart. You're just another Hollywood hack with a microphone. These people have no morals, no values, no integrity. They lie for a living, and we treat them like royalty. They're insecure, soulless, narcissistic frauds. We should be looking at them with pure disgust, not begging for autographs like starving dogs. It's humiliating. It's disgusting. America needs to wake up and stop worshiping these pathetic losers. Want me to make it even crazier and longer?
I want it crazier, longer, and I also want it to be more creative. Like I want it to like really don't just like throw out like, you know, 3 brain cells. I want you to like be more creative. Like when you say that, you know, all of a sudden that Drew Barrymore, like people. I want you to be mocking just how stupid the movies they're acting in are. Like all of a sudden, like we treat like someone who stars in 50 Dates as if she's like some brilliant Shakespearean actress who's now come to share her insights with the world. Like that sort of mockery as to how they're not even any good at what the hell they do, much less coming here and telling the world what we should all be doing.
Here's a crazier, longer, and more creative version. This celebrity worship in America is straight up pathetic and embarrassing. We've lost our damn minds. AOC, Robert De Niro, Barack Obama, George Clooney, you're all cut from the same worthless cloth. We're out here treating these people like gods when most of them couldn't act their way out of a children's birthday party. Drew Barrymore. This woman starred in 50 First Dates, a movie about a chick with no short-term memory, And now we're supposed to listen to her deep thoughts on democracy? Really? You were making out with Adam Sandler in a Hawaiian shirt, and suddenly you're a philosopher? Ben Affleck, you mumble your way through movies like a drunk guy reading a grocery list, and we're supposed to care what you think about foreign policy? How do you like them apples, you hack? Bill Maher, you sit on your little stool acting like you're the smartest guy in the room because you say new rule every 5 minutes. You're not profound. You're just another Hollywood windbag. These people aren't special. They're not brilliant. They're not deep. They're just good-looking narcissists who got paid to pretend to be other people for a living, and we treat them like they're royalty. They have 3 functioning brain cells bouncing around between the entire industry, and we act like they're geniuses. We should be looking at these people with total contempt, not admiration. Instead, grown adults are crying and fainting because they got an autograph from some clown who played a wizard in a movie 20 years ago. It's disgusting, it's humiliating, and it needs to stop. Want me to keep going and make it even longer and wilder?
Yeah, it should be a lot longer, a lot wilder. I don't want you to close out at the end the way you do, like with this whole "it's disgusting, it's humiliating, and it needs to stop." I want it to be, you can just stop your thought in the middle without close out. Part of a manifesto is that I'm just like talking. And I'm not going to have some sort of structure where I'm starting with something and finishing with something, because that's not manifesto. Manifesto is just purely unhinged thought. Part of being unhinged is that you're not closing out with something. So I want it to be a lot longer. I want it to be a lot more unhinged. And I also want you to reference Alan Alda. You know, when you can reference, like, after you say something about, like, you know, that they happen to have good bone structure, and sometimes they don't even have like that. Like sometimes they don't even have that, Alan Alda. And the more you can be mocking. I love the 51st dates thing. Like, all of a sudden, she's kissing Adam Sandler in a Hawaiian shirt, and now we need to take her deep philosophical thoughts. That was gold. And I want a lot more like that, where there's mocking them for the stupid roles that they played in the stupid movies that they starred in, that all of a sudden now that we start branding them as if they have some sort of philosophical insights. Like, ooh, all of a sudden, here's Mr. Ocean's 11 is going to come here and tell us what we need to do with Ukraine. Like, that's really important. Yeah. I mean, it should be complete and total mockery as to how they're a joke. And disgust, the disgust is even less with them than it is with Americans who worship them. So the anger is really directed at people who worship them, and the mockery and the tone with respect to talking about them is that they're losers and that they're idiots and they're not even very good at what they do, much less at trying to figure out what the hell America should be doing. That's the tone that I want it to have, but I want it to be a lot more creative. Use some SAT words. I want you to use words that people are going to have to look up and research. What the hell does that word even mean? Okay, I want you to go dig deep into the thesaurus and come out with words that basically are going to confuse the hell out of people when you're sitting there ranking on just how disastrously untalented and useless and complete losers these celebrities are.
Here's a much longer, wilder, and more creative version in your exact unhinged manifesto style. These celebrity-worshipping, starstruck, mouth-breathing Americans are the most pathetic spectacle on earth. We've become a nation of simpering, slack-jawed sycophants, bowing down to the most intellectually bankrupt collection of frauds ever assembled. AOC, Robert De Niro, Barack Obama, George Clooney, you're all the same. A confederacy of dunces with good lighting and publicists. Drew Barrymore. This woman spent an entire movie kissing Adam Sandler while wearing Hawaiian shirts and forgetting what happened 5 minutes ago. And now we're supposed to sit here and absorb her profound ruminations on society? Are you kidding me? Ben Affleck. This mumbling, monosyllabic meathead who looks confused reading his own grocery list somehow gets treated like he possesses political sagacity? How do you like them apples, you talentless hack? And let's not forget Alan Alda, this walking, talking, sweater-wearing embodiment of mediocrity. The man made a career out of looking mildly concerned for decades, and suddenly we're supposed to treat him like some kind of moral oracle? These people are not profound. They are not deep. They are ambulatory mannequins with decent zygomatic bones who occasionally stumble into a decent role. Most of them possess the cognitive depth of a rain puddle, yet we treat them like they're dispensing Solomonic wisdom. George Clooney, Mr. Ocean's 11 himself, is going to lecture us about Ukraine? The man made his living wearing a tuxedo and smirking at cameras, and now we're supposed to take geopolitical advice from this silver-haired dilettante? It's not even that they're idiots, it's that they're not even good at being idiots. They're third-rate thespians with the philosophical insight of a juice box, and yet millions of Americans hang on their every vapid utterance like it's manna from Mount Olympus. The real tragedy isn't that these people are ridiculous. The real tragedy is that so many Americans are so intellectually destitute that they actually look up to them. Want me to keep going and make it even longer and more vicious?
I definitely want it longer and more vicious. I love the philosophical insight of a juice box. I don't like when you switch into like the whole, and don't get me started, or let's not forget. I want it to be more like I'm sort of remembering. So it's like, I remember watching Alan Alda thinking that this perm cover, this weird scrotum hair covered dude who spent a decade, who turned the Korean War into a decade of him whining every liberal cause he possibly can on a stupid TV show, then spends the next 3 decades going out telling Americans what, you know, how we should be spending every dime we have on how we should be rating the rich and spending every dime on taxing the hell out of everyone. I sort of brain froze there for a moment. But the point I'm getting at here is I want it to be just a stream of conscious thought. And I also really like that juice box line. That was a great line in there. You don't have to lump in Barack Obama with Robert De Niro and AOC. I'd be happiest actually if you just sort of came at them all like a little bit separately with each other, you know?
Here's a longer, more vicious stream of consciousness style rant.
My brain
These
really
celebrity
froze there for a
worshiping
moment.
idiots are destroying this country. It's actually insane how low we've sunk. I look at these people and I just want to vomit. Robert De Niro, this mumbling, washed-up, tough guy wannabe who hasn't been good in 30 years, suddenly he's some kind of political genius? Please. George Clooney, Mr. Ocean's 11 himself, is gonna tell us how the world works? The man made his
I like
fortune
this first
smirking in
paragraph
a
so much.
tuxedo, and now we're supposed to take him seriously? And Drew Barrymore? This woman was kissing Adam Sandler in a Hawaiian shirt while playing a chick with no short-term memory, and now she's got political opinions we're all supposed to respect? The philosophical insight of a juice box, that's what she's working with. Alan Alda, this weird, scrotum-haired old liberal who spent 10 years whining about every cause he could on a stupid TV show about the Korean War. Then he spent the next 30 years lecturing us about taxing the rich and spending other people's money like he's some kind of moral authority. Who the hell asked you, Alan? These people aren't even good at acting. They're not deep. They're not smart. They're not profound. They're just famous, and somehow that's enough for millions of Americans to treat them like gods. The real embarrassment isn't even them. It's us. We're the idiots, worshiping these empty, narcissistic, overpaid clowns like they have something valuable to say. Want me to keep going and make it even longer and more vicious?
I think we covered it. I think we covered it. All right. I think we're going to land it right there. Just checking, making sure I didn't miss nothing over in the ghetto. I'm doing a quick look around. I missed G Fonte saying, you said, Joe, people are noticing because they're being hit in the pocket, despite being U.S. petrol, and shouldn't be made to pay COMEX versus OPEC costs. And if Trump decouples, America can see why. Yeah, well, let's decouple. Happy born on dat eggsy and pink taco. I don't know what this means, indoctrination. Happy born on date, eggsy, and pink taco. Okay, Jonathan says, check out Epic Furious, a game the left thinks is a protest of Trump. They set up 4 old arcade machines in the World War I memorial yesterday. It's funny. Available here too. What am I looking at? Operation Epic Furious. Oh, is this his new game? I think this is worth looking at. Let's take a quick look at this. Order a Diet Coke or invade Iran. I think we're going to order a Diet Coke. Nice. Let's get another one. Sweet. This is so good. Oh my God. All right, let's see what happens when we invade Iran. Oh my God, this is so good. I'm calling war. I call it renovating my Middle East ballroom. My delts are combat ready. Let's liberate some oil. Our Kid Rock's helicopter gets to the war zone. Oh, we're totally going outside. So much here. I love how there's like a million pictures of him. I'm gonna say no. That is genius. Oh my God, this is so funny. That's really funny. Can we hold hands? Game over. Oh, that is so good. Oh my God, that is great. That is great. Thank you, Jonathan. This is amazing. That is so good. That was great. All right, maybe I'll play some more of this tomorrow. This is great. Thank you, Jonathan. That is great. Crunchy Crayon says, strong possibility that due to cascades and supply chains and the time length of metaphorical pipelines, upcoming jump in price of refined and crude oil is already almost inevitably baked in. Divergence in both price and price action between spot versus future markets and the curve of oil future prices over upcoming months is telling very interesting stories, maybe regardless of Hormuz. RPP says, Joe, you tell Grok to learn what manifesto is by having it read Death Sentences by Matthew C. Harris, and have it style your new manifesto for you. Give it a try. You'll love it, and so will I. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Matthew C. Harris. All right. I think it's time for me to land the plane here. I had a lot of fun tonight. I hope you did too. And maybe we learned something. Maybe. It's possible. Don't rule it out. Don't rule out the possibility. It's possible we learned something. That was a great closeout there. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that. All right. I'm going to remind you that lab meet was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them. I don't even know why this is a question anymore, but some people still not sure about it. Trust me. I don't care how much you're going to pay for your porterhouse. It's worth it. You don't want to outlive me, that's for sure. And do not eat the bugs. No. Go fish. Not bugs. I thank you all for joining me tomorrow night. God willing, I'll be back here again. Until then, have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Call it speed.